Hi everybody and welcome back to the NSL Hearthstone Masters 2016/17, the Celestial Grand Show. We're halfway through the day's action and we're going to have Reynad and Eloise coming up next after Xixo's comprehensive 4-0 victory in the previous game. I've looked at the issues. I don't think it's at my end. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere between China and me. So we will soldier on with what we have for the time being. Derek, team kill game coming up.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one. I think it's going to be significantly closer than in the Xixo versus Reynad game. I think that one was not necessarily down to significant misplays on either side, although there was talk in chat of perhaps Reynad playing a little bit better in the freeze mode game potentially. I think it was just Xixo's lineup just went so perfectly up against Reynad's.
Right.
However, in this one, I think it's going to be significantly closer. Eloise has brought the Pirate Warrior, it seems almost unanimously the deck to bring. However, outside of that, it's a much slower lineup from her, with Reno Lock, Jade Druid, and Control Shaman all suffering to a lot of the anti-control decks from Reynad. Yeah, and also, the Paladin is not the fastest deck in the world.
Yeah, you made the point in the first match that, in the last match, that Reynad's deck lineup is just anti-control. Well, Eloise is kind of that lineup that he's aiming it at. So he's got a very good chance of picking up his first win. And as we keep saying, one win might be enough to get you through this group stage, with 4 players out of 5 getting through.
Yeah, it's cool to see yet another Tempo Storm matchup. These players have been doing fantastically well recently. Obviously, the story of DreamHack Austin was just all 4 players making it incredibly far in the tournament.
Yeah, last 16, 4 members. And this is not a Tempo Storm sponsored event. They're sponsoring us. They're helping us to bring it to you guys. But when they signed up for it, there were 16 players in it, and there were only 2 members of Tempo Storm, both of whom have got through to the last 5 players.
Yeah, both doing fantastically well, as we can see. Eloise finishing top of her group in the first part of the tournament. And once again, that is why this is a 5-man tournament at this stage. There were 8 players who qualified to the Grand Show from the Celestial Invitational, which happened a few months ago. However, Thijs, Kolento and RDU, due to scheduling conflicts with the HCT, could not make it to this part of the tournament. However, we still have 5 fantastic players fighting it for that top 4 spot to go to Shanghai in June.
I wonder what they're talkstoning about. I wonder what we're talkstoning about. What are we talking about, Doug? Yeah, Shanghai in June. Location for the final of this. And then, obviously, the HCT finals are around that time as well. So maybe Reynad can hang around for both if he gets through into the... I don't know if he's in them or not, but if he gets through twice, that'd be pretty incredible.
Yeah, some of these players ending up going to China a lot. I was saying yesterday that Xixo, if he qualifies, should just probably buy a second home in China because he's there so much.
Yeah, he spends a lot of time in China. He was there for WESG, he was there for this, he was there for China versus EU, like you say, almost becoming his second home. And it's nice out there. I enjoyed it when I went out there.
It does seem nice in certain places.
Yeah, it's the getting there that puts most people off. They don't
sure.
like people coming into the country. When you actually get in there, it's lovely.
So here we can see, once again, that Miracle Rogue has been banned from Reynad. I kind of, on Twitter, I mentioned earlier, I thought it was a bit of a weird deck, but Reynad thinks it's the best out of his lineup. And against Xixo, I was a little bit confused as to why he banned the Rogue. But from Eloise, I can absolutely understand it. It feels like 4 of her decks would probably struggle quite a lot against that. And given that the Pirate Warrior has been banned from her, all 4 of her decks, I imagine, would struggle against that Miracle Rogue. So a fantastic ban from Eloise. And from Reynad, I can obviously understand banning away what is far and away the most aggressive deck from Eloise.
Someone in chat asking what the gems mean. I think that's their overall win rate going first and win rate going second. But I wouldn't swear to that.
I cannot read the symbols, but that is what D2 was saying it meant yesterday. So we're going to go with what he was saying.
We'll blame it on D2, who I'm pretty sure can't read those symbols either. Because he speaks Japanese, not Chinese.
I think maybe, he can make out Chinese characters. He can't read it, but he can make out names and stuff like that.
Okay, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, D2, of course. Very solid in all of his language abilities.
Less so in English, but he's got the other ones down to an extent.
Wow, a better version of that joke. All right, Eloise, Jade Druid, Reynad, Nazoth, Murloc, anything, Paladin.
Just throw some words into the air and it will probably be right eventually.
Yeah, very
There's
interesting.
a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of threats going on, and the game goes long enough, or at least it should do, for him to be able to get one of those two threats to come off, whether it's the anything or whether it's the N'Zoth. And that's the point of the deck. It's like, put on sustained pressure.
Right.
The sustained pressure slows the game down, and then you just have these two massive haymakers, and one of which will do the work for you.
Yes, and this is an interesting hand from Reynad because on one hand, it's very good. You've got a 1-drop and you can hero power on turn 2 into a muster for battle, which is a pretty good start. But on the other hand, it's absolutely terrible. You've drawn an anything right off the bat, which is one of the worst cards you can draw. And you also have a Tyrion, which you definitely want to draw on turn 8, but not having your hand from the get-go. Whereas Eloise is off to a blisteringly fast start. Coin Wild Growth into Jade Blossom is pretty much the nuts as Jade Druid against pretty much every matchup. And then with a Fandral to follow up, this is looking very nice for her indeed.
Yeah, all she needs now is a swipe, just in case this middle lot gets out of hand. It seems unlike... Oh, Reynad's decision here is awkward, right? If he plays the second muster, then...
He's leaving himself very, very vulnerable indeed to a swipe if he does go for that. For Eloise, though, it's less crucial to remove these Silverhand recruits than it would be against her own Paladin, per se, because the only cards that Reynad uses that capitalize on Silverhand recruits are Sunkeeper Tarim, obviously buffing them up to 3/3s, and to a bigger extent, the Quartermaster, which prioritizes on exactly the Silverhand recruits. However, there's no light fuse Stegodon, so on turn 4, it's less crucial for Eloise to get them off the board. But now with the pickup of Sludge Belcher, she could just slam that down on this turn, but it looks like she's making what I think is the correct play if she's going to go with the Fandral in playing the Jade Idol first, because naturally you think, right, I'm going to play my choose one effect after Fandral, but you actually don't want to draw Jade Idols at this point. You'd rather draw your bigger Jade cards first.
Reynad deciding how he wants to go about this doesn't matter a huge amount, I don't think. Just clearing this stuff up. Can't let Fandral live. There's just too much going on. If they're going to Nourish, you lose the game. That's
exactly it. Nourish would just be such an unbelievable blower. Even if it's not on the perfect curve of turn 5, it's still really, really powerful. And thankfully for him, he did do that because Eloise picked up. It's still very nice for her indeed because she was starting to run pretty low on cards. So a pickup of Drake or Auctioneer or Nourish to a bigger extent would be fantastic, and that's exactly what she got. So now what Reynad needs to do is start applying pressure in this mid-game phase of the game, so that later on when Eloise starts getting her Jades down, she's just under too much pressure and won't be able to close it out.
Yeah, and he's doing a good job of that, but Eloise's hand is so insane. The Auctioneer, it doesn't look like much of a hand, but trust me, as soon as this Auctioneer gets going in, like, next turn, this hand is going to turn from a few mediocre-looking cards into a handful of massive, massive threats.
You were correct indeed, Neil, that with 2 Innovates, that is going to be, what, 4 mana that you can use? Oh, no, sorry, 6 mana that you can use after the Auctioneer comes down to draw a billion cards.
I feel you may need to refresh your view as well. You're like 2 seconds behind.
Oh, am I a bit behind? Right, okay.
Yeah, you'll probably go in front, but I can handle that. You just have to lead me through.
That's absolutely fine.
Reynad punching through there. Okay, this turn... Oh, okay, so Eloise has a choice now with the Behemoth. She was going to play Auctioneer and start doing stuff. Yeah, she just made sure that Behemoth wasn't better. And actually, Innovate. Behemoth is still a thing she can do if she does bad draws from this Auctioneer. But it's not likely. She's more likely to just spam the board here with a whole bunch of cheap things.
Yeah, and that seems like that is exactly what she's gearing up for. Oh, I've got instead an advert for Red Bull. I forgot to install Adblock.
Alright, so while Darek is going through his Red Bull commercial, of course, Tempo
not sponsored by Red Bull, I must add.
Doing pretty well in those events. Eloise is busy making a bigger and bigger board. Decision time now whether to Wrath the Shredder or whether to just make a 4/4 Jade, either which will draw her another card. If she Wraths the Shredder, she will be able to hero power down the 1/1, but of course, the associated Shredder risks come with that.
Yeah, you kind of got to look in Wild. I think the outcomes from Shredder are lower than they were when Shredder was around originally, because you've got more cards that feel like they're not quite as good. You've obviously got some more higher rolls now with things like Kindly Grandmother, stuff like that, which is really fantastic. But you've got a whole bunch of 1/1s that have been added in with stuff like Fireplume Harbinger and stuff like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just looking at this. And
It's pretty obtuse.
Reynad has to kill the auctioneer, we know that.
Yeah.
So he's going to start off with the shredder, see what he gets. That's pretty good. Just casually get a 3-4.
I think I'm still behind even after refreshing. This is very annoying.
Interesting.
But he got another totem golem. We saw that yesterday as well. That is ridiculous.
Okay. Curious as to how that's even a physically possible thing. Well done, Internet. Just well done, Internet. That's all I can say at this point. I think Reynad going very, very wide, but Eloise finally has the required swipe, and she can actually play, Azure Drake first, which is a thing we've all missed, and clear the board entirely with this swipe.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. That was one of the true devastatingly powerful combos of Azure Drake, because obviously, primarily you want it for the card draw to keep the amount of Jades you've got high, but after you've done that, after it does that primary effect, getting a 2 damage swipe basically is going to be a massive board clear almost all of the time. However, with Tyrion coming down now and Eloise running no mulches in the deck, this is the shot that Reynad needed.
It is, but I'm wondering if she even cares. I mean, she cares, but I wonder if she cares very much about this, when she can just play a Panda and Blossom and just
right.
almost ignore Tyrion. The only question would be, do you spend 2 mana procking the block? I think you probably do. Procking the shield. The block. Too much freeze mage, kids.
One game is too much, it turns out.
This is how laughing will sound in 20 years' time.
Yeah, I think he's probably immune. That's his great power.
Immune to freeze mage accents. Yeah. And Eloise keeping back that excess mana. That's not a mistake. She's doing that in case she draws the auctioneer. There's absolutely no reason to play it now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where at the start of the game you think that you should always play it as quickly as possible, but later on down the line you realise that's often not the case. And the second anything being picked up before any Murlocs have been played, or maybe one Bluegill Warrior, is that it?
I think we've seen one Bluegill, that's all I can remember as well. In a deck with 6 Murlocs in it, I think Finch is in here. The other 5 definitely are.
Yeah. And it's kind of unfortunate that, a Bluegill Warrior it's all right for 2 mana, but for 10 mana, you're probably not going to play that.
10 mana 2/1 charge, which allows you to play 2 2/1 charges the next turn.
Wow. Stronger than it would seem.
Really, really powerful indeed. And Tarim having to come down early, obviously that is not what Reynad would have liked, because he would like to transfer these huge golems later into 3/3s rather than now. But sometimes necessity means that you have to do things you do not like. So Eloise working out whether to cycle the excess mana first, or if she actually needs any other cards. This hand looks pretty versatile without even worrying about another card in your hand.
Yeah, you've already got so much stuff to do, and that's what you need to worry about, because you have cards in hand, so you don't want to get greedy with using your cards for less value just to draw more cards. So Eloise needs to play quickly at this point. She needs to make sure she keeps up on the board so that there's no chance of falling behind, because I don't believe Reynad is running equalities in his deck. He is not. So that means that the comeback potential is severely hampered if he falls behind.
Yeah, of course. You say that like there is the N'Zoth and the anything, but neither of those two are going to be very active. We've only seen, I think we've seen one Shredder and one Tyrion, which is okay from a N'Zoth, and just one Bluegill that we were just laughing about. So nothing there for him. And now Eloise, I suspect, will cycle this excess mana unless she thinks she's going to Nourish. But I think she could do more with the excess mana.
Just depends on what you think the average card off the top of your deck is. If it's enough to fill out complete, or at least decently well, with the 3 mana from Jade Blossom.
While we're talking, it's just lethal. Casual 15 damage to the face.
Yep, right you are. With the
I think that we won't cycle the excess mana. We'll just kill our opponent. How about that?
Yeah, interesting strategy, to say the least.
Double Fell Rage to the face for 8, plus 1 is 9.
Oh my god. And if you actually put your ear to the ground, you can hear Reynad grumbling right now through time, even though this is a pre-recorded event, drawing 2 anything can happens after only getting 1 Bluegill. That is truly never lucky rubber ducky.
Yeah, the way the deck is constructed, he should... I'm so done. He should be able to reasonably consistently have a strong turn 10 play. And yet, every time we've seen it so far, that has not been the case.
It definitely has not. Very unfortunate of him. But in the first day, we did see the power of that anything coming through, because it absolutely won him the game in a seemingly quite poor position. but hopefully he can get it at this point. It really does feel like Finger in this deck is even more crucial than it can be in some other kinds of Finger decks, because it just enables not only a huge board swing with Finger, but it activates 2 late game cards that you have that are pretty dead otherwise, as we saw earlier on. But now Reynad with a pretty similar start in the 1-drop into, it looked like Hero Power, into Muster for Battle, but here he picks up the Haunted Creeper. So now this is looking like a much more effective, aggressive start for him.
Yeah, although one of the best ways to deal with aggressive starts back in the day was Imp Gang Boss, so good at making those 1/1 tokens that kill 1/1s. And now Reynad, does he feel lucky? Does he feel about the Hellfire? Because if he's willing to go Muster into Quartermaster, everything's going to be so rosy for him. But we can see that would not last that long.
Yeah, so we can see that Eloise is running a Demon Wrath, which isn't unanimously run in the Reno Lock list. So that is another reason to not go for the Muster for Battle. I believe Reynad has probably done his homework. He knows that she is running that. So instead he's going for the Cog Hammer, as well as the fact that it helps him to deal with this Imp Gang Boss a little bit more effectively. You don't want to commit too many 1/1s, because then the Imp Gang Boss will just start eating them up one by one, and you're not really in a position where you can finish your opponent off in the next few turns. So that Imp Gang Boss would have done tremendously well if he'd left all these 1/1s on the board.
Bit of play and counterplay here. Reynad's trying to work out, because there was no AoE last turn, would Eloise have used AoE even if she had it? He decides no, she would have played as she has, more carefully, holding onto her resources, and so he doesn't blow his load and just go all in with his Muster either. Everybody just being very cagey in this situation.
This is a pretty nice setup from Reynad as well against Hellfire, because although all his minions obviously do die to the Hellfire, it's also in a decent spot because all of Eloise's minions would die as well. She'd be left with only a 1/1 imp, so meant that it's not too effective against what he's throwing down. This play from Eloise taking the value trade on his smaller spiderling, what are they called? Haunted spiders? Spectral spiders.
Yeah, they're 1/1 dude things.
1/1 dude things. Yes, exactly. It was good because it meant the value trade was taken from the Gang Boss, but it also means that the Cog Hammer can finish it off. So this Shredder is still alive and chugging away.
Interesting that Eloise has basically been able to hold this off without the use of her hero power.
Ah, very true.
She's, normally the whole reason you can fight back as Reno Lock is you cling on for dear life and then you just go hero power, Reno, win. But she's actually been able to hold on just with the cards in her opener.
So now that Cruel has been drawn, there's going to be the potential for a devastatingly powerful turn on turn 9. You could even just opt to not get the Battle Cry of Jaraxxus and get it on the board as a 3/15, because then all of a sudden, when you draw a Defender of Argus or any way to apply Taunt to that Jaraxxus, it is almost impossible for Reynad to get through it, given that there is no equality in the deck. It's going to be tremendously powerful and difficult to get through outside of Sunkeeper Tarim or I suppose Keeper of Alderman. So it's actually easier than I suspected.
Sure, but a 3/15 is still pretty tough, and there's other things you can do. If you're having to use up your keepers on Jaraxxus, then there's still plenty of other issues you've got to deal with.
Yeah, tremendous amount of threats being run in Eloise's Reno Lock. As we can see, it runs the full Demon 9-drop package in Mal'Ganis, Jaraxxus, and Cruel the Unshackled, the 3 amigos of the Nether.
Again, apologies that I did not do my research on the Kazakus potions. I used to know them in Chinese, and then we didn't do any Chinese casts for a while, and I haven't looked them up. So as far as I'm concerned, that is a 5-mana mystery potion at this point.
It's more exciting that way. A little bit of je ne sais quoi about this cast.
Je ne who? Jenna? I don't know her. Anyway.
a lot of je ne sais quoi, I think, is going on in this cast.
Turns out there's a 5/5 minion coming and killing things. That seems good to me.
Yeah, so that is going to be the almost perfect one for Eloise. The Resurrect 2 would have been a lot worse because many imps were generated by the Imp Gang Boss, so that obvious anti-synergy was not worth going for the revive, even if that was presented to her. And now with the Tyrion coming down on turn 8, it's a fantastic position for Reynad, because it means even if some kind of a clear comes down, that Ashbringer technically represents lethal over the next few turns anyway. Obviously, with Anti-Keelbot, Reno, and Mistress of Mixtures available in the deck, as well as Jaraxxus, it seems unlikely that it is going to finish Eloise off.
Yeah, but it's going to get her really low. This is going to be kind of close to the wire. Reynad almost out of resources, but the ones he's got are very strong. Eloise has healing, but it's all a bit muddy. So she's going to have to tread very carefully these next 2 or 3 turns. And it looks like she's got enough stuff to get through, but she is going to have to not make a single mistake, I think, here.
Yeah, very tough in this position because obviously as Reynad, you very, very often have the tools you need to pull yourself out of these sticky circumstances, if I remember the deck correctly. But you do have to not misstep because, as we've said, this does have the potential to bring her down to a tremendously low health total if she doesn't leverage her healing correctly. And so this does mean that on this turn, Tyrion is able to attack into face, and Finger is a fantastic card to pull off the top, given that I believe only one Bluegill warrior, and a Murloc war leader.
Yeah, that's what I've got it written down as,
one
of each. So that would leave him with one of each plus Old Murkai.
Exactly, and basically you want to get out as many non-Murkai Murlocs out of the way as you can at the start. Obviously, it's never great to draw them. However, just getting the maximum potential to get Murkai is your best shot. However, going with the Twisting Nether here completely denies any potential for Finger. And I guess that makes sense because that was one of the ways that Reynad could just get an absolute blowout victory, because what this does is it not only negates the power of Finger now, it absolutely decimates the power of anything can happen if it's drawn.
Yeah, and this is really looking bad for Reynad, but again, we keep stressing he has the N'Zoth. He does have also got those are words.
Lorinda speak am very good.
He also does have the anything can happen, so still 2 10-drops to get him out. But Eloise is starting to get the board into a terrific state now, and when the end comes with this deck, it comes fast, and she's actually got lethal set up here.
Just a look at the power of this Cruel, getting a Doomguard out for no discard, as well as the 7/9, as well as the Jiraxxus. You are perfectly happy to not bring your health total down by 9 and instead get a 3/15 on the board. But as I said earlier on, Sunkeeper Tarim is one of the few ways you have to deal with that in this deck, bringing it down massively in terms of stats on the board. And Reynad can just go for a complete clear in this situation if he wants. I don't believe there's any demon synergy in the deck outside of the obvious Cruel Unshackled pulling them out of your hand, but once they're on the board, I think there's no real reason to clear them off and just let the Sunkeeper Tarim soak it instead.
Shadow Bolt into Hellfire looks like a rather strong proposition here with Reno Jackson in hand.
Things working out not perfectly for Eloise, because you would obviously much rather sacrifice off the Cruel or the Unshackled and then go for the Hellfire. Maybe if you tap first, you can pick up a Mortal Coil to make that trade truly perfect. But outside of that, it's looking a little bit awkward, but the Hellfire is still pretty fantastic to take out these Silverhand recruits.
Yeah, when you know your opponent is running out of stuff. Of course, having the hero power for Reynad is still a plus, and we keep saying he's got those 2 big 10-drops that can just turn this game around at any point. Especially the N'Zoth, even though it would only get back Shredder and a Tyrion. It doesn't sound like a lot, but actually those 2 guys have such powerful death rattles that is a huge amount of stuff. And Eloise is just going to try and clear up here.
I do want to retract an earlier statement I just said. There is obviously demon synergy in the deck in Mal'Ganis. I kind of forgot that it gives the +2/+2 to all other demons, as it's the often lesser used effect outside of making your hero immune. But yes, that is a reason to clear off demons from the board, in that you can go Mal'Ganis to buff their attack up to 5. But given that it had to be tapped into, obviously it's 9 mana, so you cannot hero power in the same turn. And things for Eloise there really not working out fantastically.
Yeah, she was really expecting there not to be a high health minion in the deck, and she could have got lucky and hit the N'Zoth or something, so it was definitely the right thing to go for, but as you say, did not work out as intended. Should still be okay for a turn or 2, but going to have to now do things that she'd rather not have had to do, and I'll be back in about 10 seconds.
Go for it. So, a little bit awkward here now that the Kazakus has already come down, because Bran Bronzebeard is severely limited in what it can do. Looking at the battle cries left in her deck, it's a lot less good. Defender of Argus, I believe, is still there, unless she's used that earlier on. But basically, now that Kazakus is gone, that Bran is looking a lot less powerful. But Reno is a pretty good stall card at the very least. But now that you can sacrifice off that Bluegill warrior, this anything is perfectly reasonable. You are going to get 2 war leaders, a Bluegill warrior, and a Finger, if I recall correctly.
It is indeed that lineup, or that's at least what I make it as well.
Brilliant.
Which is probably a good sign. Obviously, you can waste your first anything as well. It's not like the newish version, which is now rotated out as well, where you have to panic a little bit.
Right.
Having anything just is plenty. Look at this. There's still another one to come later. And from nowhere, Reynad has gone from looking like dying to having every chance of winning this if Eloise can't find a solution very, very soon.
So obviously, even if Eloise had it in her deck, which she does not, the combo wouldn't be able to save her at this point because there is a taunt in the way. That Shadow Flame is nice if she can pick up something to use along with it. Mal'Ganis is obviously way, way, way too expensive to use on the same turn. What could she tap into? If you can tap into Voidcaller, that would be interesting because you play Voidcaller and you Shadow Flame it. It's just a little bit short of killing most of these minions. However, it does pull out the Mal'Ganis, which makes things a little bit more interesting in terms of trades.
Yeah, and that was pretty good spot by you there, but does not appear. And now Eloise is just going to have to try and survive so she can draw into it maybe next turn. The problem now is, of course, she has an extra demon in hand.
So, given that you want to kill off a war leader, Siphon Soul doing effectively the same thing as Shadow Bolt, just gaining you 3 health for 3 mana, which doesn't really feel quite worth it. But going for the Blast Crystal here on the other one, this does massively reduce the amount of damage on board. But this is a big investment against 3 mana minions.
Finger doing that thing that Finger doesn't do very often, actually just attacking face.
Oh my lord.
You know you're in trouble when the Finger's going to your face.
That's when you're really screwed. Mortal Coil is nice just to get a cycle because you then do have the opportunity to play Mal'Ganis if things don't go your way.
Abyssal, though. That's going to clear a lot of this stuff up as well. Actually represent a chance at winning the game.
That's true. That's absolutely the play, isn't it?
And now Eloise in such a good spot, and Reynad gives it up, and Eloise takes a 2-0 lead.
Wow, what a play from Eloise there. That was so close. But Reynad, you know, he did just leave himself in a position where he was vulnerable to big sweeping AoE like that. He didn't really have any choice because he had to play the Anyfin, given that it was pretty much the only card in his hand and was a very, very powerful play indeed. But Eloise fantastically played towards the end there.
I believe she had the opportunity to do it the turn before because I was looking at it and wondering what I was missing.
Right.
And she chose to just not do it, which meant that she caught even more minions in the AoE. Eloise showing very patient play whenever we've watched her over the whole of this tournament so far.
And that is risky because against Reynad's deck, where you have the constant threat of anything can happen, playing safe and patiently can just lead to your doom. But in the end, it works out very, very nicely for Eloise.
2-0. Eloise is 0-1 in this event, I believe. No, she won earlier today, right? Yeah, she won earlier, so she's 1-1. Reynad is 0-2, and obviously, while 1 win might be enough, 0 wins is not, because it means that everyone will have beaten you. So Reynad desperately looking for this win now, and we're going to see this really slow-looking Shaman take on a Jade Druid. This one could be a longer one.
This is far and away my favourite deck out of all the ones brought from Eloise. This is a Control N'Zoth Shaman that runs both Kel'Thuzad and Reincarnate. This is all in on the Death Rattle synergy. You are just hoping to play, you know, your Sylvanas, and then you Ancestral Spirit it, and then you Reincarnate it, and then you play Kel'Thuzad, and then you play N'Zoth. There's so much cool stuff that this deck can do. But you have to not die in order to get those combos off.
Right. Yeah, not dying sounds easy and should be easy with this stuff, but against Jade Druid with a ramping start and a bunch of Jades, which is what Reynad has, not dying can be a lot harder.
Yeah, things looking pretty fantastic indeed for Reynad. Obviously, you want to get the wild growth into Jade Blossom rather than the Jade Idol, but you really cannot complain with a start like this, curving out almost perfectly in terms of mana played, and then you can follow up in a couple of turns with the Jade Behemoth as well, which means your Jade cards are incredibly powerful towards the start of the game, and no real powerful AoE picked up from Eloise until that Volcano. But that's quite a big investment to a mid-sized board like this.
Yeah, and already looking like that Volcano is going to be needed if Eloise can't pick up an AoE spell, or like a real AoE spell, not a Volcano, which is a board clear entirely as opposed to just killing your opponent's stuff.
Sure.
And she's already down to 18. Reynad trying to mulch his own face there, representing something, I think.
So, trying to mulch his own face. Very interesting play from Eloise to not go for the Barnes on the previous turn, because what you're thinking is if you pull out something like an Earth Elemental or a Sludge Belch or something like that, you want to be able to play Ancestral Spirit on it on the same turn, because then you get back the full statted minion, not the 1/1. So she's thinking, I am being a bit greedy here. I'm not fighting back on the board at the moment, but if I am going to win this game, I have to be a bit greedy. I have to get that crazy synergy with Bran into some kind of a high roll and Ancestral Spirit on top of it.
Yeah, nicely worked out. Also gave her the option if Reynad played yet another Jade to Volcano without killing her own stuff.
Sure.
So I'm sure your reason is the main one, just a nice extra bonus therefore that she did have the Volcano available. And obviously the key when you're playing this sort of deck is not to panic too hard. But she does need to panic fairly soon because this is now becoming an emergency.
Hearthstone advice from Lorinda. You need to panic fairly soon, you know.
You have to plan your panicking in advance.
Okay, plan your panic. I like it. But now you are now on the turn where you can go for that Bran into Ancestral Spirit, and maybe you're in such a dire spot that you have to get some kind of a high roll, and that seems like that is exactly what Eloise is looking for. Goes to the Bran, pulls out Earth Elemental, so you can give yourself a 2-mana 7/8 if you want to go for that.
At the moment, it's not enough if she doesn't hex something. Reynad has 8 damage on board, plus he has Innovate Living Roots, plus double mulch. He will be able to do all of those things in his hand to get through for a total of 11 if you count his face as well, if he wants to.
And the thing is, from Eloise, can you really afford to hex that? Do you just have to assume that your opponent doesn't have the mulch?
Yeah, she managed to get rid of them with the couple of things with the Maelstrom Portal, so she's still alive. But Reynad is going to be able to get through stuff with the mulch. Oh, actually, she didn't play the Spirit.
That's
instead,
right.
Choosing 2 killer things. That's where the mana went. I'm good again.
You're good, you're good. So didn't overload, obviously, because pulling the Earth Elemental from your deck does not overload you. So does now have the potential to use the Ancestral Spirit in a similar fashion. We could see Earth Elemental into Ancestral Spirit. But against Reynad's hand, it would actually be better to go for Sludge Belcher into Ancestral Spirit, because those mulches would make quick work of both of those Earth Elementals.
Yeah, and this is just going to be it. Double mulch going to get the work done here this time.
You can hex, but even then, you are right. That does not stop this game from going in Reynad's favour.
Mulch, mulch, face, innovate, living roots in some order.
Also, tiny misplay, but Eloise did miss 1 damage with the young Dragonhawk there. Because it has Wind Fury and she didn't attack face. So you're looking unlikely to win this game at this point, but a consideration nonetheless.
Yeah, could have killed the frog.
Yep, true. Could have killed the frog. That could actually, that's more relevant than attacking face. That could actually make a difference.
But yeah, we can see that it's not going to. Eloise now 2-1 ahead, and the deck that you love just getting destroyed by a rapid Jade Druid start.
Yeah, unbelievably fast. That's kind of, you know, people often, I think it was referring more to the combo Druid of old, but people used to say that, you know, Druid was just a trumped up face deck. That's all it really was. It uses stuff like Wild Growth in the early game, but really, you're just hoping to smoke your opponent down pretty damn quick, and that's exactly what that Jade Druid was doing there, curving out almost perfectly. And the fact that the Shaman was doing basically nothing for the first 4 or 5 turns of the game is just too slow.
One of the reasons that people have argued about Druid throughout history as to what it is and what it does is because outside of the top maybe few hundred pros who have played millions of games of Hearthstone, well, tens of thousands, most people have probably played 100 or 200 games of Druid, maybe 500, maybe 1,000. And everybody's experiences with Innovate is very different. So, yeah, if you play 500 games, some people have really good Innovate, some have really bad.
Right.
And so when you say it's a trumped-up face deck, the reason everybody can't really decide is some people have had a good run with Innovates and Wild Growths their whole career, and some have not.
Sure.
And so that's the reason that Druid is around a 50-50 deck, but no against everything. Obvious exceptions and meta considerations.
Yes.
And nobody's really sure.
It's true. It's very, very interesting. And even though you keep the core of cards like Wild Growth and Innovate, Wrath and Swipe, things like that, it does change somewhat. It's obviously very different now to the combo Druid of old, is very different to the Malagos combo Druid with Arcane Giants that was around the Karazhan era. You can take that core ramp package and apply it to a lot of different situations.
Yeah, I mean, just those cards are so powerful. If they were in Rogue, they would all be banned.
Right, yeah.
It's just, you can't have Innovate and Wild Growth in Rogue. It would just be completely absurd.
Yeah, of course.
It's silly enough in Druid, but obviously the way the game is designed means they're just about balanced.
Like that thing of people saying if you had Fiery War Axe in Zoo, that would absolutely break the game forever.
Please. I've heard that one, but yeah, I'll have some of that.
So here for Reynad, you've got your fantastic 2-drops in the Loot Hoarders, but against Lost in the Jungle, they line up pretty terribly. And so he's thinking, even though I could get the draw going right away, it's more important to fight back against the board with these hero powers, and maybe I can utilize the slightly higher attack value on the Loot Hoarders later on down the line.
Yeah, just going to try and get everything you can out of this. You quite often don't play in a lot of matchups your Acolyte on 3 for this reason. Like, it gets killed in one shot, but taking that chance if it had paid off fixes your curve, like you say, more value from 2 Loot Hoarders in one turn next turn, and sometimes you just have to fix your curve. There's enough card draw that it's not too important.
Absolutely. And so from Eloise now, all she is looking for is some kind of Silverhand Recruit synergy card. She runs a lot of them. It could be the Steward of Darkshire, it could be Lightfuse Stegodon, it could be Quartermaster, it could be Sunkeeper Tarium. There are so many things that are absolutely fantastic with her hand at the moment, but she needs to find one of them, because on their own, these little Silverhand Recruits probably aren't going to be enough to apply enough pressure to close out the Freeze Mage in the mid-game.
Yeah, the Silverhand Recruit thing is just really interesting to me. The fact you have to keep dealing with them, but at some point you might as well just give up and say, well, I can't. It's not happening. I can't keep dealing with them. Go ahead, Quartermaster me. But if you do that, you are just asking for trouble, obviously.
And then it begs the question, if you're going to give up at some point, like maybe you just shouldn't start in the first place, especially with Freeze Mage, a deck that very often just ignores or freezes minions on the board, instead opting to amass their own combo, which is starting to look pretty apparent for Reynad. He's already got the Alexstrasza in hand and has got a decent amount of burn with the Frostbolt, Torch, and Fireball. And there's not too much healing in the deck for Eloise, only being the Ragnaros Lightlord and the 2 True Silvers. But there is already that all-important, one of the most important cards in this matchup, Ragnaros Lightlord.
Yeah, this whole tournament, by the way, the format has changed 2 or 3 times. And so it's pretty much a test of who are the best players who can think on their feet. If you happen to play some Wild, that's great. But a lot of these players didn't know until very close to the time exactly what the format was going to be. They knew it was probably going to be Wild. And so practicing for this tournament was difficult. So we are seeing who can adapt, no pun intended on this occasion, the quickest to a new format.
Of course. And Reynad taking a really cool line of play here. He realizes your board is filled up with pretty much the weakest minions it's possible to get in the game at the moment, outside of a Hexed Frog. So you know what? Go for it. You can't play any of your synergy minions to go along with it. The maximum you can do is play the Spike Ridge Steed to buff up the attack. And even now, this is 9 damage coming in a turn, which is a lot, but it's a lot less than could be coming through. And also, they cannot play the Ragnaros Lightlord. So if you can find the time to finish them off by shooting stuff off to face, this game's yours.
And it's a very Reynad thing to notice as well.
Yeah.
He's very, very good at these intricate, unusual positions. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's like, well, you just aren't killing me with this lot.
Go for it.
He's going to get hit in a minute for a lot of damage, but okay, when he starts getting even lower, he will start taking action.
And that's what he's thinking. You know, he has the Frost Nova in hand, which, given his line of play, is way better than the Blizzard. You do not want to kill these minions. You just want to stop them from attacking you, because then that doesn't free up any space for your opponent to play minions.
That's one way of stopping your opponent playing Quartermasters and other stuff.
Yeah.
Just don't let them have space for it. Let's see if this works out for him. Obviously, this turn, he's hardly taking any damage as a net result of that armor.
And it is going to be the fact... So he's going down to 11, which means that with the 9 damage on board and the Consecrate, this is a block pop on the following turn unless he freezes the board, which is a little bit unfortunate. Oh, well, with the Vine Cleaver, this is easily going to be a block pop.
But maybe bought him 2 turns.
He did buy him 2 turns. And maybe from Eloise there, it was actually worth considering not doing anything, because then Reynad might make a play where he allows you to pop the block, whereas on this turn, he's definitely not going to do that. Whereas, if you don't show that you can. Maybe he lets you do it.
That's pretty next level, but yeah, I think you had to.
It's worth considering.
Yeah, I'm sure she would have looked at it as well, but yeah, that is interesting. But now Reynad's bought himself some time. Eloise has done nothing wrong. She's used resource as well. And it's all about whether Reynad can get what he really would like right now, which is his Emperor Thaurissan.
I really like not frostbolting here from Reynad as well, because with the attack in with the Vine Cleaver, a consecration does not pop your block. It's going to have to be a double consecration, which I think is pretty fair to assume your opponent does not have. You can't really play around stuff like that and assume that you will win. And you're really going to need a fair amount of damage coming in on the following turns, because it very, very much looks like Alexstrasza is going to be the way that you are going to deal enough damage to take out your opponent. And Reynad lines up that offensive Alexstrasza right away.
Yep, 15. So Fireball off the top would be lethal. Eloise has to assume that it's there, so she has to play the Ragnaros to get out of range.
Very easy play this turn.
She knows there's probably no silly Kobold kill because there's been no Emperor. And so just getting out of range is fine.
However, in this situation for Reynad, that Fireball is effectively 8 damage because you can take out the Stegodon and then attack into face with Alexstrasza. But I guess in that position, you have to think, is that actually what you want to do? You have to deal with this Light Lord in some way. That doesn't mean you have to kill it, however. You can simply Blizzard this board, which means that 2 minions are damaged, and then there's a very decent chance the Light Lord simply does not heal Eloise's face.
You can even Ice Lance the 2/6 and get through for 8 to save your Fireball at that point as well.
Very true. Very true.
Allows you the time that you need to play your block and put Eloise back down to that magic number of 15, which is Fireball, Fireball, Frostbolt.
And that's exactly the play that Reynad is going for. He realizes that he can't really afford at the moment to invest the damage in killing off that Rag Light Lord. He needs instead to pray that this does not heal Eloise's champion, and instead, or hero, I should say, not champion, hero.
Wow.
And instead heals itself, because he is very, very close to dying and needs to get lucky. But that, oh my goodness. That can guarantee... Well, I punched my microphone. That can guarantee the heal on Eloise.
Yeah, this is going to remove the damage from the Rag Light Lord, which means that Eloise can heal her own face again. It's a trick you see with the quality a lot. I'm not seeing the Tarim so often. And Eloise spotting that and putting herself in a very, very strong position now.
Absolutely fantastic play from Eloise there. It's something you could potentially miss because, as you said, I haven't seen that interaction either, but it does work out perfectly for Eloise, and I think that basically means that this game is locked out in Eloise's favour.
Yeah, for the second time we've seen Reynad playing Freeze Mage today. Both times he's actually run out of resources, which is spectacular, really, because you know, it just shows how aggressive or how relentless, not necessarily aggressive, these wild decks can be.
Okay, so I said it locked it out in Eloise's favour, but we can see that there is an ice barrier in play for Reynad. So only a Consecrate could actually kill him on this turn, because any other attack has to activate the ice barrier. So on this turn, with the Doomsayer down, you've got to think pretty carefully about how you want to play this. You could just play the Tyrion purely for the Ashbringer, which is pretty respectable, because that's going to be very, very powerful in the coming turns. But that, once again, doesn't actually set up to kill your opponent on the following turn.
Yeah, and you need to, because even though you're on 23, this evolved Kobold build of Freeze Mage can do overwhelming chunks of damage. There's still an Emperor Thaurissan, there's an Intellect in hand to get it with, either reducing 1 or 2 cards in cost, and then maybe getting another Arcane Intellect. Suddenly Eloise could find herself in a reasonable amount of trouble, although obviously at the moment is still the overwhelming favourite.
I think overall it's worth playing the Ashbringer because you need to do something on this turn, I think, and you have other stuff to do in the coming turns. That's not really your concern. Your main concern is just being bursted down. We've seen the Rag Light Lord come and go, so the only healing left in the deck is going to be the True Silver Champions from Eloise, and with this much burn being picked up, she's going to have to find it pretty soon.
Yeah, for Reynad, I think his only play here is to stick all this into the face.
I think you probably Fireball and Hero Power rather than going for double spell, but maybe he disagrees and would just rather get the damage in now.
Yeah, he's only on 9 if you count the armor, so he's dead in 2 turns to this Ashbringer.
Right, so this gives you the top deck of Roaring Torch. Okay, I like this play, yeah.
Yeah. The other way, you'd be relying on Frostbolt. I don't know if
Yes.
both have been used. We've definitely seen one, but it probably would get you through. So let's see what he top decks.
Eloise with the Lothar.
Yeah.
Once again, the perfect card that she needed. If she plays that, she will win. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's really pretty much impossible for Reynad to come back from this one. He's got to do too many things in one turn. Can't do those things, and Eloise takes a 3-1 lead.
Whew. Magnificently done from Eloise. That was actually much, much closer than I anticipated it to be. With the Reynad making some pretty nice plays to not kill off the Rag Light Lord, but instead attempt to simply damage it and confuse it enough to get that damage into face. But there was the one card that Eloise could get to guarantee that heal to face in the Sunkeeper Tarim, which she managed to get. And then after the fact, it looked like with Reynad had out before that Lothar came down, the true bane of Freeze Mage.
Yeah, Lothar, everybody. I mean, it's great, right? Freeze Mage is back, Lothar's back, everything's fair. Wild seems to have this tendency for everything to work out just nice like that. So now Eloise needs to win with the deck that you like, this Control N'Zoth Shaman with Barnes and all sorts of weirdness going on.
It does indeed, and the deck's left for Reynad. He's got a Freeze Mage, and let's just look at the Shaman for Eloise. The only heal it's running is Healing Waves, which is a lot. That's 28 potential healing altogether, but you have to find them.
Right, but the thing is that Freeze Mage, one thing it doesn't do is win quickly.
Right.
Eloise is going to not put that huge amount of pressure on, most likely, so Reynad will also have his time, but the Freeze Mage is going to be able to find those heals. But maybe this version of Freeze Mage can actually just win in one turn and bypass the healing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Given that this is the deck that runs Evolved Kobold, you are in a spot to potentially amass a true one-turn kill combo. And that was often the way you'd win against classes that can't gain armor before the rotation of Emperor Thaurissan. And so that might just be Reynad's game plan. He's got a very respectable amount of draw at the start. Loot Hoarder into Acolyte of Pain, which is not going to die on this turn, is very nice indeed. However, Eloise has managed to reduce that healing wave, which could be absolutely fantastic.
You're saying she'd have trouble finding them. She probably wishes she hadn't.
So this gives you the potential to perhaps go N'Zoth Healing Wave on the same turn to both get yourself out of range of dying and threaten lethal on the following turn. So reducing that could be very impactful indeed.
N'Zoth 1-1 just looks sad.
Oh, that is pretty garbage.
Reynad doesn't get much information for that other than N'Zoth isn't in hand, which is just no use to him at all. So everybody's happy or unhappy with that pull.
Exactly, and obviously deck lists are public, so he knows exactly what kind of shaman this is, and probably could have figured it out from the last game anyway.
Yeah, very much so. Barnes is just such an interesting inclusion in this deck, and I can see why you like it so much. Eloise does have the choice here if she wants to coin out Cairn. Obviously, she'd probably rather wait until she can put the Ancestral on it, but if she wants to keep some pressure coming, there's an option to play Cairn here.
It's true. It's definitely worth considering, but I think, you know, when she played Tyrion into the Doomsayer last game, it was because she had a whole bunch of stuff left behind to do. But in this situation, the only other real threat she has is the Sludge Belcher. So she really doesn't have much to follow up with. So sacrificing a 4/5 body here is a pretty big deal. But what she's thinking is, I need to be able to respond to an Emperor Thaurissan.
Yep, needs to be able to respond to him. I thought that was nice, cool. And also just put this pressure on. Like, if your opponent's getting out of range with his Freeze Mage, he is just going to kill you in one turn sooner rather than... Well, not sooner, but soon enough.
Yes.
And so... And we can see the hand from Reynad is definitely a turn that if it picked up an Emperor would just be a winner.
Yeah, it would be absolutely insane, because if you picked up... Well, you have to pick up an Ice Lance and a Kobold if you want to get the true one-turn combo, I believe, with the Emperor Thaurissan. However, this is already a massive amount of damage. But with both Healing Waves in hand for Eloise, it's going to be very, very scary. Because after you go with the Alexstrasza, Healing Wave lines up pretty much perfectly to heal you back up to 29 with no healing being wasted at all.
One thing this version sometimes did was a little bit of chip damage. Very little amounts, but like 2s and 4s.
Yeah.
And it's just not getting any of that. This is going to be full out burn you in the face if Reynad's going to win this one.
It is indeed, and he's definitely starting to get there with both Frost Novas as well. As soon as any respectable amount of damage comes down from Eloise, he's going to be able to slow that down quite significantly. And with Kel'Thuzad perfectly lining up on the following turn, I wouldn't be surprised to see Eloise just... Oh no, she played the Ancestral Knowledge on the last turn, so Kel'Thuzad cannot come down. However, the top deck of the second Ancestral Knowledge is interesting because you can draw something to do right now, but you're denying yourself Kel'Thuzad again on the following turn.
Right, and Kel'Thuzad obviously a card you'd rather like to have, just for the size as much as for the ability at this stage.
Exactly.
Of the proceedings. Yep. Just counted up, Reynad has 19 damage in hand. The most that he can do in one go, I believe, is a number. So the number of damage is 16.
9, 12, 16. Yes, I agree. And you cannot fit in a ping because that would cost you 9 mana. Yeah. So with a pickup of another Ice Lance, that would be 20 damage that you could do in one turn.
So already looking pretty good. Obviously, the reason he hasn't just going to slam Alexstrasza, well, maybe he will just slam Alexstrasza if he feels that's the best way. But there's a good chance he won't do that. He knows about the double healing wave in the deck.
Yeah, he does indeed. And you want to be able to concentrate the amount of damage you're dealing. Because if you Alexstrasza and then they just heal up, and then you're starting to fire off fireballs and frostbolts again slowly over the next 2 or 3 turns, there's a decent chance that the second healing wave will come down. But it could very well get to the point where Reynad just needs to say, right, I've seen the first healing wave, I just have to assume they don't have it, because if they do, I'd probably lose. So
doing it this way around forces Eloise to have the healing wave, but also basically just causes a distraction while he saves up the damage for the OTK. If you go for the one-turn kill anyway, which we thought he probably would, there's no downside to taking the chance that, hey, sometimes here she just doesn't have it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm still going to save my OTK, and then maybe one time in 10, one time in 8 in this situation, I just win the game.
Doesn't win the joust there, which is a little bit unfortunate. It was unlikely that it would happen, given that the amount of high mana minions he plays is extremely low. Alexstrasza has been drawn, so the highest one would be Emperor Thaurissan at 6, and then evolved Kobold. So very likely that Eloise does end up winning that joust, which is very nice for her, because that extra 7 damage could be a very, very big difference.
Yeah, you can see now how she's managed her resources, obviously, saving that. There hasn't been many ways to not use them anyway, but saving the healing for the right time, saving the hex for the right time.
Yeah, going with the Ancestral Knowledge on the previous turn worked out very well indeed, because you get the Overload out of the way now when you definitely didn't want to be going for Kel'Thuzad anyway, and it also gave you the Hex that you needed to take out that Alexstrasza.
Okay, well, Reynad is not short of damage. I'm actually surprised he hasn't cycled one of these torches by now. Maybe he hasn't a chance just to get the extra damage OTK going. But maybe he's felt that he didn't want to waste the damage. But I feel that maybe he could get one of these into his deck about now.
Maybe at this point he needs to start thinking about just firing off damage to face. However, if you're going with that plan rather than the true OTK, you need to be very afraid of dying. There's 10 damage on board, so it's actually a fair assumption that you're just dead. However, having said that, I don't know if there is a point of damage that you can do from hand in Eloise's deck. So I think you can...
Is there a weapon?
I don't think so. I think you can be 100% sure that your ice block would not be popped whether you froze or not.
Okay. Reynad there was having difficulty choosing whether to use the torch, which will be the consideration we were talking about, get the torch back into your deck, or whether to use the fireball and be mana efficient.
Yeah, I think overall you definitely want to be mana efficient, because even after the Emperor Thaurissan comes down, you're going to be tight on mana if you want to fit in an evolved Kobold in addition to that. And you will probably have the turns over the next turn or two to start shuffling your torches as well. And, you don't necessarily want to draw your Roaring Torches more than you want evolved Kobold and Emperor Thaurissan.
So, the number that casters have to learn at caster school. It's in hand right now.
So what can we see? We've got Fireball, 6, 9, 12, 16, 20 damage available for Reynad. So he is in that spot I mentioned earlier on. He is saying, if you don't have Healing Wave, I win. If you do, I'm in a very rough spot, so I'm just going to play the odds. You probably don't have it.
Right, seen one already means the chances of the other one are actually much lower than you would think, the way that the maths works out. I'm not going to go into that on this particular day, but yeah, people always overestimate the chance of their opponent having it. Except on this occasion, Eloise does have it, and she will sense the danger. I think she'll just do it now. You don't really need to be greedy with this.
So there was consideration to go for Roaring Torch there, because obviously you have enough damage to kill off your opponent right now, but shuffling the extra torch into your deck might have been pretty nice, because if they do have the healing wave, you want as much damage as possible to take them out. And this is actually a pretty nice spot from Reynad to get them down to 19, because if they heal for the full 14 with healing wave, which is very likely, then they're actually wasting 3 heals. So maybe you have enough damage after that, if you can pick up the Evolved Kobold, to simply finish them off. But if you are going to do that, you're going to have to find that other ice block as well.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just a bit loath to put the torch back into the deck so he can pick up his Emperor, so that he can pick up something else that you talked about, the Kobold. Those cards, and he wants to play it after he picks up the key cards there. That's the only reason for not shuffling back in at this point. And I can get on board with that. See who wins this very important joust. And predictably, Eloise wins it. Nothing to do with Reynad's RNG on this occasion, just because her deck is full of big things and Alexstrasza has gone.
Yeah, it would be pretty unlucky for Eloise to lose that, especially as I believe she's running no minions that cost less than 4, which is pretty impressive to say the least.
It's actually a huge bonus with those healing waves.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be a consideration in her deck, especially as, you know, if you're running Barnes, you don't want to be putting Doomsayers and little things like the and the Blood Mage Thalnos. Oh my lord, look at that combo.
KT-ception. Right, so both healing waves are gone. Reynad knows he has to do 30 damage and he will win the game. There's no more shenanigans going to happen. He has the ice block up.
Yep.
He has Blizzard in hand. How close can he get and how quickly?
Right, so if you go for Blizzard, Frostbolt, Ping, that's obviously getting in a hero power, which is nice. But maybe you have to keep your Frostbolts in hand, because obviously they're cheaper and they're much better with the Evolved Kobold.
Yeah, and the Ice Lance. You can't just...
Well, you can use one, and then obviously still you can use both Ice Lances on the same turn as the other Frostbolt.
So I think you win over 2 turns here if you're Reynad with reasonable draws. You have 14 with the Frostbolt Ice Lancers. You have 3 more with the Torch. That's 17. Any old Ping is 18. You need 6. This is a whole chunk as well, though. If you fire it all at face, do you win next turn?
So you go... You can fit in...
Is it 22
Not
now?
a Ping. So that's 5 with each Frostbolt, so that's 10, 16, 22 damage.
Yeah, that's what I make it as well. And then
so you've
just
won.
Go face and you win the game.
You have won at this point. There's nothing Eloise can do, because there is simply no healing and no secret destruction in the deck. This is Reynad's game.
Yep, he's going to play the Kobold. He's going to launch the cheapest spells in his hand at face for 22. And then he's going to do 3 damage next turn, and there's no healing. Just while we're talking about that, as Reynad does spot it, obviously, to address chat, this is not pre-recorded as such. The tournament is not live, but nobody, including us, apart from the players, knows the result.
Exactly. We are talking to you live, but we are casting over a pre-recorded video,
which is going out at the same time in China and worldwide as it is here.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So, Reynad spots it. I don't think there's any random effects that can help Eloise that I can think of, at least.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, especially as she has absolutely no room on the board as well, and Ancestral Spirit isn't going to do it. And there wouldn't even be anything off of the Maelstrom Portal. She could, if she had room on the board, she could potentially go for Mistress of Mixtures, which would maybe save her, but yeah, there's no room on the board, so this is over.
Pew to the face, and Eloise struggling to find a win with his Shaman, and she's got to find one in the next 2 games or she will lose. 3-2, and all the way through that game it looked like Eloise was going to win it.
Yeah, really has not been performing for Eloise. So the last 2 decks that Reynad needs to win with are his Reno Lock, and then I believe his Paladin as well.
Yeah, that Paladin has been a problem for him, and I don't think it's as bad as maybe... Yeah, it's shown.
Yes, I agree.
It just always seems like he's got loads of outs and doesn't get any of them.
But the thing is, You have to think about it. If you are finding yourself in the position fairly often where you draw anything and it doesn't really do anything, can you really call that unlucky anymore? Or is that just the way that the deck goes? Like, if you are building a deck instead that the other players are more favoring with more Silverhand recruit synergy, maybe that's the way to go instead. And then you don't leave yourself in a position where you can even get these bad draws.
Yeah, I mean, the N'Zoth half of Reynad's deck is definitely working fine.
Yeah.
Every time he draws anything, if that was the other N'Zoth, you're not allowed two N'Zoths, but if you were, if that was another N'Zoth, he would have been fine. But he has been drawing the N'Zoth minions and the anything sort of big spells, and they haven't meshed very well. That being said, it does seem like he's not drawing well with the deck as well.
Yeah, he is. I am saying that to be a little bit mean to him, but he is definitely getting a little bit unlucky, throwing away the zombie chow here and keeping the bluegill warrior. So he is this time thinking, right, I'm not even going to put myself in an opportunity where I can get a rubbish, anything can happen. I'm going to guarantee that I get at least a half decent one.
Yeah, insight into his thinking as to how he's going to get through this wall of stuff that Eloise is going to begin setting up from about turn 4 or 5 onwards.
So for Reynad, a pretty decent start to get things going, especially with the pickup of Haunted Creeper. You can curve out perfectly with 1-drop, 2-drop, muster for battle, and then coin into Quartermaster if it survives.
Yeah, that looks fantastic, but how good is Maelstrom Portal in this metagame?
Pretty good.
Seems absolutely insane, right? It's just going to destroy all the relevant minions on this next turn.
Ooh, now with the combination of potentially on turn 4 or 5 of going Bluegill Warrior into Coin Murloc War Leader for a 4 damage charger, and then all of a sudden, for 10 mana, your anything can happen is something at this point. Even if you get no more Murlocs, it's at least a play. It's bad, but it's something that can maybe push that little bit of charge damage you need to close out the game.
Right, and between now and turn 10, Reynad should pick up another Murloc. There's another one of each of these. There's a Finger. There's an old Murkai. There's 4 more Murlocs. So in the next 5 or 6 turns, he should pick up at least one more. And then it would be a case of actually the board would be vaguely intimidating at least.
It looks like for the moment, though, Reynad is just loading up on these Silverhand recruits, trying to get as much value as he can with one of his Quartermasters on the following turn. He is truly standing at half-mast with 2 of them.
So Eloise just... The thing is, she's got loads of ways to answer this board, but does she even care? Like, this board just doesn't really do a lot to her right now.
Currently, it doesn't, and I grant you that there are obviously way less Silverhand Recruit synergy cards in Reynad's deck in total, but there is the potential for the Quartermasters to come down and massively buff what is already on the board, and then all of a sudden you're in a much scarier spot. Do you then have to use a Volcano just on what is essentially a board of little rubbishy dudes that got buffed up out of the way? Because all of a sudden then your Lightning Storm only has a 50% chance to clear off every single one.
And this is the thing that everybody talks about, which is why they think that Paladin is at least pretty strong, as we say, a third Murloc, is that you do, in general, have to deal with pretty much every board of 1/1s. And because you're dealing with it, your opponent never even needs to use their threats. So they've always got their threats in hand, so you always need to deal with the 1/1s. It's this horrible, vicious circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Reynad here taking it a little bit slow, using the hero power to try and eke out as much value as he can. This has the double benefit of making it so that even if your board is cleared here somehow with perhaps another Lightning Storm, you have the combo between Murloc, the Bluegill Warrior, and Old Murkai. And it also sets up for a more powerful Quartermaster later on down the line. You definitely want to be hero powering as much as possible, because each one of these Silverhand recruits is far more powerful than it may seem at first glance.
Reynad has been abusing that throughout this game so far.
Very slow turn indeed for Eloise, which means Reynad can go all out on the Murloc synergies here if he wants to. It will be pushing forward +2. This will be a 6 attack Old Murkai.
Wow.
Which is a lot of damage all of a sudden.
Yeah, he needs to be aware that she did nothing last turn, though, because he knows that everything in this deck will be playable next turn. So every option that could possibly hurt him is probably in her hand right now. But yeah, this wide board, how is she going to deal with this without using Volcano? And if she does, Reynad can just do stuff again.
Yeah, Exactly. There is the refill that Reynad needs after a big board clear. There is the potential for Eloise to go for Volcano into White Eyes, which is a pretty nice combo indeed.
It's not a full clear though either, right? It's
there's 16 health. I just counted up. Yeah, there's 1 health over. Which, you know, could very possibly be not one of the 1/1s. It will likely end up being a 3/3.
Yeah, the 2/5 or the 3/3s are likely to survive here. See which way it goes.
That's 1 Spiderling, 2 Spiderlings down. It's the Quartermaster. Better result for Eloise than it definitely could have gone. The Murloc surviving would have been absolutely terrible.
Oh, Chow him just in the nick of time, especially with the Zombie Chow in hand.
So yeah, you can just go for the buff right now. Do you want to save that though? With Earth Elementals in the deck, Tarim is a real trump card later on down the line.
He is going to save it for later. That makes a lot of sense. Just deal with this the old-fashioned way by smacking a load of things into it that you don't really want to.
Yeah, makes sense, because you do need to save these cards to be a little bit more powerful. And now, because of the fact that Reynad kept his Bluegill Warrior earlier on in the game, he now has several fantastic top decks. Anything can happen would be perfectly fine here, with one of each of the Murlocs outside of Finja being brought back to life after the fact. And has he played any real death rattles? We've seen a Haunted Creeper and a Zombie Chow, which means N'Zoth is not particularly powerful as of yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen many at all. We've seen all the Murloc stuff this time around. So if Reynad's true to form, he'll draw N'Zoth anytime now.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all. There we go. It's starting to get a little bit better now, though, at least.
So he's going to probably have to just pile everything in here. No, he's going to ignore Sylvanas. Okay.
So yeah, obviously you could have gone Murk-Eye and then kill everything off, but then you're passing the onus back over to the Shaman. You could obviously have gone with the Shredder in addition to that, so maybe that would have been a better play, but then it makes it a lot longer before you're going to be able to get any value out of your Quartermaster at all. So maybe the idea is just you get the value now while you can.
Yeah, I mean, you've put Eloise under some pressure here, getting her down to 16. Yeah. It's not a huge amount because you have the Zombie Chow in play, but it is a little pressure, and you are preserving your better cards as well.
So Devolve here is interesting. You make 3 of these minions into Wisps, Murloc Tiny Fins, or Target Dummies. So there is the potential for Taunt to get in the way, but you're turning that Quartermaster into probably a slightly beefier minion.
Yeah, you want to pick up the 5 health first as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
May just be worth setting up a wall of stuff here. There is Barnes doing his thing. What does he summon? N'Zoth again. That's valuable information for Reynad this time. It wasn't last time, but this is going into turn 10, and he knows N'Zoth is not in Eloise's hand now.
Yeah, that is definitely something to consider. So he can perhaps take it a little bit slower, because he might not need to massively load up onto the board quite yet, because he doesn't need to be afraid of a huge swing turn from Eloise in the form of N'Zoth. However, having said that, there is still the ability to just go for massive turns even outside of that with Ancestral Spirit, Kel'Thuzad, Reincarnate, Cairn, Sludge Belchers. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong.
Eloise valuing the clear over the 5 health there.
Doesn't hit any target dummies, which is pretty nice, because you do get a complete clear now.
Yeah, the other way she could have killed the Zombie Chow and gained the 5, but she's trusting her deck to just come out with a healing as and when.
You have healing, and you really just need board presence much more than you need healing at the moment.
Nicely worked.
So Reynad has put himself in a spot where the Sylvanas can't steal the Shredder at the moment, which is very crucial indeed, because that would be really, really bad for you. Giving your opponent, you can make it so there's a 100% chance to steal the mini-bot, because the Sylvanas Death Rattle will activate before the Shredder does. And putting this Ancestral Spirit on it is very nice.
Yeah, and Reynad's just had seen enough. I mean, the amount of value that Eloise was getting there was just becoming overwhelming. Reynad's seen enough. He knows that there's so much more going on. He's run out of threats. And Eloise takes it down and gets her second win. Reynad falls to 0-3.
Oh, my lord. Reynad 0-3 in the thing. When he tweeted out yesterday saying, this is the worst set of decks I've ever brought to a tournament. Don't expect much. Perhaps we should have read that as an omen of bad things to come.
Yeah, it's hard to know because Reynad's so self-critical that could just mean he won every game, but it was 4-3 and he wasn't happy.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Just because he would still beat himself up in that situation. He's not just all about the winning. He is a guy who is pretty much a perfectionist when it comes to building stuff.
Yes.
And very, very proud. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's lost, but this Paladin deck does not seem to be working. Again, I genuinely feel that it's been a little bit unlucky how it's worked out for him.
Mm-hmm.
But there may be too many contrasting themes, perhaps, now we've seen it play a few times.
Yeah, you can only put so much into a deck where the point where, you may as well just focus in on one thing and do it really well rather than do a whole bunch of things and do them kind of half-heartedly. Whereas it makes sense the line he's going down because you only have to put in N'Zoth. You already have fantastic death rattles that you want to put in your deck anyway. And the Murloc package is just good. If you can hit Findra on 5, you're in such a fantastic spot. But, he hasn't been able to hit Findra on 5. He hasn't been able to pick up the any Fins later on. This hasn't been working out.
Yeah, I feel like he has definitely had a bit of tough luck with it. Of course, when you go for the Murlocs, there is very little card draw, if any, in that deck. So you are at the mercy of the top of your deck. But even so, I feel like he's had it a bit rough with that deck. But let's not take anything away from Eloise. She has done very well today. She's won both of her matches, I think. Just checking. Yes, she beat Zhangbo earlier on. And now she's beaten Reynad. And she goes from 0-1 to 2-1. Almost certainly into that top 4.
Yeah, very, very nicely done from Eloise. And I'm glad that she's almost guaranteed her spot because she did finish top of her group in the first portion of the tournament. So definitely in deserving of a place in the second half in Shanghai.
Yeah, Eloise is... every time she plays, every time I cast her at least, I make the point that I think she has not got quite the results deserving of her ability. That's nothing to do with her bottling it or anything like that. She just hasn't quite had that moment. If you count her top 8s, which is what we tend to do to assess good players, she's got loads. And they just haven't all turned into wins. And that is just at the very, very top level, sometimes a little bit of luck, sometimes a little bit of something not going right for you on the day. And
right.
I think we're going to see her win a lot of money and a lot of tournaments in the coming 2 or 3 years.
I certainly hope so. She's definitely got what it takes. There's a reason that she was picked up by Tempo Storm. It's not just because she's purely a meme lord. It's because Reynad saw potential in her, and it is definitely becoming more and more apparent as time goes on.
And she is a meme lord.
And she is also a meme lord.
If she hasn't been fired for this result. But yeah, Tempo Storm again, and we're not plugging them because we're on the channel, guys. I would be saying this even if we were on like some other rival channel. Tempo Storm in the last month or so are showing just how good they are at this game.
Yeah, on an absolute tear. Every single one of them. Even if you can say, Trump was just picked up because he's a very popular streamer, which he obviously is, he has also got what it takes. You can take the piss out of him because he helps newer players with things like Trump teachings, but he absolutely knows what he's doing.
Yep, certainly does. Proving that at DreamHack last month, or this month, or whenever DreamHack was, not long ago. We're going to go to a break. Sounds like it's a good time for one. And then we'll get into our final match of the day in about 6 minutes. Hi everybody and welcome back to the Celestial Grand Show, the NSL Hearthstone Masters 2016 to 17. Took a bit longer than they expected when they set out. I'm still here, Derek's still here, and we still have one more best of 7 wild for you. And it's a good one. It's going to be Xixo versus Lovelychook.
This is going to be a very good one. Lovelychook bringing one of the more interesting lineups to the tournament, in which he is playing extremely aggressive in his play. He's in the kind of the way that people are building Paladin. It's very, very different across the board. We've seen many different kinds of all-out Silverhand recruit style, anything and the Zoth Paladin. We've seen a kind of a hybrid version from Zhangbo, and here we've got Secret Paladin from Lovelychook. So very, very aggressive, and he's also bringing Pirate Warrior, Egg Druid, Aggro Shaman, and Secret Mage. So every single one of his decks is going to be very aggressive in its style of play.
Yeah, it's a very similar lineup to Xixo's, but even more aggressive.
Yes.
Which is something you don't get to say every day. So this might not be the longest match in history, even if it goes to 7, let alone if somebody 4-0s it.
Right, of course. And, you know, against a lot, even between these decks, even the control-y decks that Xixo is playing, they're likely to be over pretty quickly, because with the Reno deck, I hate to say it, but it's very likely going to come down to whether or not he can pick up Reno Jackson on turn 6, because against a lot of these decks, you are absolutely going to need it. However, yesterday, against the Reno lock, we saw 2 games against Aggro Druid and Pirate Warrior, where they were dead on turn 5 twice. This is such an aggressive format that Reno often doesn't even make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad enough in the last meta that Reno would sometimes not make it down on 6 against some pirate decks. But now, if you bring an aggro deck, they're all that aggressive, and your pirates have got cannons, and oh my goodness, it's completely ridiculous. On the other side here is Xixo's lineup, and maybe 1 or 2 of his decks will struggle to that brutal beating, but he does have enough control in there himself that should be a really close matchup as far as I can tell with these lineups.
I think we're very, very close indeed. I think with their mages lining off against each other, that'll be very interesting indeed, because Lovelychook is bringing a secret mage. That is very apparent. He's got Cabal Lackey, which is a really interesting inclusion, because a lot of players nowadays, even in the standard format, don't think that that's worth playing. And he's got Ethereal Arcanists. Is that the name of the card? The secret guy that grows?
The 5/5 guy?
The 4-mana 3/3 that grows into a 5/5, yeah. I've never seen that card played ever.
Ethereal Conjurer?
Ethereal Conjurer is the guy that makes the spells. I think Ethereal Arcanist is the secret guy that grows. I'm going to Google it.
I played him very, very briefly in Secret Mage in Standard.
That's the one.
The card is fine. It just turns out that water elementals are better.
Right, okay, yeah. But I guess in this situation, I think maybe the break point is duplicate, because if you can play Ethereal Arcanist with a duplicate on the field, then all of a sudden it's growing, and then the only way to get rid of the secret is to kill it, and then if you kill it, you get more of them back in your hand anyway to play again.
Right. That's horrible. Warrior banned from Xixo's side, and Shaman banned on the side of Lovelychook. That's a sign of you bringing a good deck when people are banning it.
Exactly.
The rest of it looks pretty similar to each other.
I think from Lovelychook, which deck you ban is a lot less consequential, because they're all fairly aggressive decks. They're all going to play out in roughly the same way. The difference being, you know, clearly going up against Aggro Shaman, you feel like you're more susceptible to straight up burst rather than flooding the board. Because against the Egg Druid, you don't necessarily just need heal. You need board clear, board clear, board clear, just to keep it as clean as possible so they can't get these ridiculous Soul of the Forests. Whereas the Shaman and the Pirate Warrior probably play a little bit more similarly in that it's extremely high amounts of damage to face.
Xixo, remember, has no scales in his Jade Druid.
Very true.
Could be very important against this lineup of things that are hitting you in the face.
Yeah, against this lineup, you absolutely want those Earthen Scales. And in order to make up for it, he's got a Raven Idol, which could potentially find you some kind of healing.
Right.
He only runs 1 mulch, which is good. You don't want 2 mulches. And he does have the crucial card in Yogg-Saron. So you never know. That can be the tipping point in a lot of games.
Yeah, if I had to make a prediction, which I don't, but I'm going to anyway, my thought would be that Jade Druid might just not get a win here.
Yep. I think that's very, very possible. It just struggles against all of these decks. Like people say, you know, the common thing that's touted now is, you know, Jade Druid has a decent matchup against aggro, but there's a couple of reasons for that. It's because aggro decks have gotten weaker, and it's also because of Primordial Drake. That card is so devastatingly powerful against aggressive decks, as well as Earthen Scales, and all 3 of those things are no longer true. Aggro decks are at full potential in Wild. Primordial Drake and Earthen Scales are not being run by Xixo, so it looks like he's starting off with his worst matchup right away.
Yeah, and just going to prove the casters wrong. Probably clean this up in 6 or 7 turns and take it down. Let's see how it works out. Let's see if it goes how we thought it would. Lovelychook needs to pick up any pirate, and his hand will become immense.
He does indeed. He does. Oh, well, there you go. Right off the top here. You know, it's not even a weapon-producing pirate in the N'Zoth's first mate, so you can get out the Fiery War Axe and then get that out. But how you play this is actually fairly complicated. You could go for coin into ship's cannon, and then on the following turn, you can fire off 2 cannonballs in combination with the Finley Mergleton as well. You could coin axe so that you can charge out the pirates on the next turn, but just saving the coiner seems to be what Lovelychook is preferring.
Right, that's going to enable him to next turn just do it all in one go, and he's actually choosing to delay it even longer here by playing the War Axe down, and then he's going to set up for this crazy turn where he fires off cannonballs at all sorts of things as well as protecting his coin.
Yeah, so the benefit of that is you can obviously go coin into 4-drop on the following turn if that turns out to be the better play, although most likely we will see the combination of 2 pirates coming down with the South Sea Deck Cannon patches, firing off the cannonballs twice. Feels very, very strong indeed. So Raven Idol is going to be the choice here for Xixo. Wearing some kind of a spectator bug, so we can't see the choices that he's going for. Or did I just completely make that up?
No, everything's just changed sides. So Xixo is the one playing the Jade Druid.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah.
Is the one playing the warrior, and it's all going to get very confusing. But saving that coin has paid off for Lovelychook because he has now picked up N'Zoth's first and second mate. He's going to be able to just fire off all sorts of cannonballs here. Yeah,
fire Z missiles definitely seems to be the line of play from Xixo. You need to think about how you're going to play around swipe, because that's basically the only thing you're going to be afraid of. So loading up on all these 1-health pirates the maximum amount possible may not be the best line of play. You might want to save one of them behind just to give yourself a chance to not just get completely blown out by swipe.
Yeah, the attack with face, though, with the weapon means he's definitely considering just going all in here. And this could be a lot of balls here from Lovelychook.
Many, many balls flying all over Xixo's face in this game. You're definitely, by attacking it with a weapon, going for the N'Zoth's first mate, and attacking it with the Finley first guarantees you the maximum amount of damage to face possible, but it does leave you more vulnerable to swipe, because if the cannonball took out that Jade Idol, you could not go swipe into hero power to take out the Finley. You would have to use that Wrath if you wanted to do that, which is a lot more resources that you're committing to the board, so I'd be very unsurprised to see Wrath hero power, or swipe hero power, sorry, or potentially swipe into Wrath for 1.
Yeah, interesting that he chose to play around the swipe, just because that would have been 4 damage to face.
Yeah.
So for that to be, even though obviously you play around swipe, that's your natural instinct as a Hearthstone player, and you've now protected your card, it will be interesting to see if this deckhand gets more than 4 damage by saving it back.
Very good point. Yep.
Yeah,
that's actually a very good point.
It's got to get 6 damage, otherwise there was no point saving it, even though it looks good.
True. Very, very true. Yeah, it has to get that or get some kind of a beneficial trade, which looks very unlikely to happen.
However, picks up the captain, which instantly shows why he did it.
So that does make a big difference indeed.
Gets 3 damage of the 4 back straight away, and also enough pressure that this is definitely well worth the 4 that he saved.
So interestingly enough for Lovelychook, it looks like that coin is getting more and more dead in terms of how much use you can get out of it as the game progresses. However, due to the fact that the life tap was the hero power that was picked up, it could actually very likely get some kind of a use later on down the line. So it's not as bad as it would seem at first glance.
There we go. So the deckhand count was actually 5 by the end, so it was the right play.
Yep, did work out just about favourable, but a very interesting analysis there that it was actually almost worth just getting it down for the cannonball that it would fire in addition to that. Whew. So now you probably don't want to go with the Death Spite now, because you obviously already have a weapon equipped, so you want to get down the Cork Run while you can, because it looks at the moment like the only way to get rid of it will be with a hero power in addition to that Jade Idol. And that might actually be the way that we go, because that Earthen Scales, for 3 health, is pretty minor.
It is, especially at this stage, but now it's not so minor, because now he's picked up the Feral Rage, which is going to allow Xixo to obviously survive long enough to get the Feral Rage to be active.
That was an absolutely insane nourish. The two best cards that he could get at the moment are Feral Rage and Jade Behemoth, and he got two. He got one of each, which is absolutely massive, because on the following turn he can heal up if he needs to, and also go with the Jade Behemoth. And if this Fandral survives, which it looks very well like it might do, then you can get in the attack as well and take out one of these minions that's going to be played down from Lovelychook.
Yeah, I mean, if this Fandral survives, this game will be all but over, because Nourish into Feral Rage will be so incredible if needed. And I played a lot of this matchup in the old meta, obviously, in the old standard meta, so no Death Spites. But if you got to this situation where you could clog it up with Taunts and Feral Rage, you often did very well.
So a tough choice here for Xixo. You obviously naturally want to get down the Taunt just to get in the way of this weapon, but your play of going for Nourish into Feral Rage, maybe that's the play. Or you could even go Nourish into Jade Behemoth. You will have the mana to do so.
He's just only he's got enough good cards in his hand that he doesn't need to do that, because next turn he can still probably Nourish.
Yeah,
like they could kill a 3/5. How are you going to kill a 3/6? We can see actually Upgrade is a start on that.
Yeah, you can go for Upgrade. You would have to go.
You can't kill it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go for the Bloodsail Raider before you go for the Bloodsail Cultist, unfortunately, which means you get one less attack, but it's definitely worth it in order to buff up the weapon.
Yeah, so he's still going to get the Nourish play next turn.
Sure.
Load of pew-pew going to come from the side of Chook here. He may choose to hit him with... It's a really awkward turn, right? Because he wants to play the cannon and the two pirates. But he wants to use the Death Spite at what is the right time. And the right time for the Death Spite is after you've played the buff. But that's the last thing you do. So he's going to have to actually not play the Cultist here.
Yeah, well, it looks like he's going to have to not play the cannon, it would seem, because you're sacrificing the ability for 2 cannonballs, which is a lot of damage, but you're getting through this taunt. And that's the most crucial thing, because you're going to have to start slamming into phase with this Death Spite if you want to have any chance. And although it looked a moment ago like it was a lock victory for Xixo, that is not necessarily the case. How much damage can he push through now? He can get... He's got... 4, 6 plus 2 spell damage, so 8 burst from hand. It's not over.
It's not. It's pretty close to it. He's got 2 turns, and again, as I said earlier, whenever Xixo takes his time on a turn, you can usually assume the turn is difficult. Either that, or he's gone to the toilet.
So on this turn, there is the potential to go for Swipe Living Roots, obviously, to completely take out these minions. However, I guess he's thinking saving this swipe as burst is probably the play to go for, because it gives him potentially just 1 less turn for Lovelychook to find the answers that he needs.
Right, this sets up lethal, and you manage to get the extra point of armor in.
Yeah. So he's thought it through, and this definitely does seem to be the correct line of play. As you said, setting up lethal on the following turn and giving your opponent the least amount of possibility to finish you off. That is definitely not going to be it. Is there any way that you can stop this from killing you?
Don't forget that Chook doesn't know that Swipe's in hand, so he may choose to take the chance anyway.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that there's another durability on the Death Spite. You'd probably rather it have only 1 attack, just so that you can clear off these saplings. But I guess in that situation, if you don't have the extra 6 damage, maybe you've just lost anyway.
So if he taps, he's dead on board. So from his perspective...
Yes.
If he taps, he's dead on board. So he's going to try and avoid the tap. But he's not dead to swipe. Sorry, he's dead to swipe either way, but he won't think about that. He'll think, can I get another turn?
Yes. Yeah.
So he's doing this, and then next turn he's going to try and tap into Leroy, basically.
Maybe he's thinking, I have to tap here and get a Dread Corsair. That's pretty much my only way of winning this game. But he thinks it's just not worth the risk, because obviously that's a very low chance, and he's dead to swipe anyway. And he thinks maybe I can survive here and then pick up what I need on the following turn.
And we told you this Druid deck was going to have trouble.
That's why you never listen to us.
And Xixo there, courtesy of the caster, saying that Druid was going to struggle, takes a 1-0 lead with Druid against Pirates.
And that is absolutely fantastic. We predicted that might be the problem deck, as this is not a particularly anti-aggro Jade Druid. It doesn't run the Primordial Drakes or the Earthen Scales either. So that's a massive win for Xixo, because now all of a sudden he did have his Pirate Warrior banned, I believe.
He did, yes.
Yes, so his deck's now he's in a decent spot. Like, his aggro shaman, that's just an aggro mirror, and Xixo is a fantastic aggressive player.
Right.
So he will be in a very good spot to take that game just through pure skill of playing his cards in exactly the right order, and he will know the mulligan down to a T as well.
Yeah, the other thing here is even though his decks are a little bit slower, and maybe Lovelychook's going to have the edge very slightly in every matchup here, being 1-0 is enough to cover all of that.
Right, yeah. Very good point.
Okay, Xixo keeping the Frostbolt, so the idea here is just to withstand the early pressure by Frostbolting ship's cannons and other ship's cannons, drop your Shredder, and then win the game.
It's not a particularly ambitious mulligan, because obviously
Right.
you'd rather get things like Mana Worm or Mad Scientist in order to keep up and start applying your own pressure. But I guess he's thinking, the potential I draw I could get is so devastating that I just don't want to risk it. I'll take this average start and hopefully outplay my opponent in the mid-game.
Interested to see if he coin pings here. He's going to coin glyph, sorry. Because turn 2 is Frostbolt, turn 3 is Frostbolt, turn 4 is Shredder.
Right.
So there's no reason to save the coin because you're wasting something on turn 3 anyway that's likely to be not much use. And actually this is much better the way it's going to work out for him, because now he can concentrate on killing the big stuff with the Frostbolts, get his Shredder down, Flame Strike, and should still be on a decent health total.
So very interesting pick in the Flame Strike, of course, because there was the obvious benefit of going for an Ice Barrier. Gets you a bit more health, and that is very, very small. There's a very small amount of that in the Mage deck. That's pretty much the only healing card you're going to get. So he did, that's very often a massive high roll. But as you said, the complete board clear will turn out to be so good here.
Right, this is the downside of the bit where he wasted where he used the coin, is that he now can't Frostbolt coin ping.
Very, very true.
But I don't think he'll be too bothered by that.
There's a decent chance he picks up some other cheap spell or minion in the coming turns that he can use in combination with that on turn 4 rather than the Shredder, because here it looks like he's not setting up for a Shredder. It looks like he's setting up for Frostbolt ping on the following turn and then Flame Strike on the turn after. Because this Frothing Berserker, you can't really leave it up even for one turn.
Let's see how he chooses to do this now, because...
So that could be secret or counterspell. Or duplicate, sorry. Yeah, it could be duplicate or counterspell.
How much does he take? He takes duplicate or counterspell. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at this turn with his missiles. They're really tempting, but I don't think you bother. I think you wait because you're flame striking anyway next turn.
Yeah. I totally agree. Ping off one of the 1/1s is right as well, because that denies 1 damage now, whereas the Frothing Berserker is very, very likely to die on the following turn. Kind of unfortunate for Xixo that Lovelychook picked that up, because it means that he can develop a weapon as well as just a minion, whereas he would obviously much rather he just plays the Frothing Berserker, which would die, and that would be the only thing he's developing on that turn, whereas this way, this is a tremendous amount of damage coming through and is going to be game.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, we don't know about the secret, but...
Well, we know that it's duplicate, so...
Okay. Yeah, of course. Okay, so... We do know about the secret, and it's going to be 1-1.
Unless Chinese production lied, this is definitely going to be game. And it was unfortunate for Xixo because he just wasn't able... He picked up the Flame Strike, which I think overall was the right pick, because it turned out to be massively useful there. But the pickup of the Corsair there was just really nice for Lovelychook, because it allowed him to develop a weapon and a minion on the same turn. But maybe Xixo's line of play should be just to go for a more ambitious start, because you're unfavored going into this matchup. You need to get a very powerful start to completely seize the early game on turns 1, 2, or latest 3. And he just didn't really go for that. He was going on the responsive, and maybe he just had to be more aggressive and get the board himself early on.
Yep. Can't argue with that. Like you say, he used the coin early, and maybe that didn't work out for him. Maybe the Flame Strike was just that little bit too slow. But realistically, it made a lot of sense at the time. And the draw from Lovelychook was a pretty much perfect curve in response to what Xixo did. And it's not going to get any slower for Xixo.
Oh, yeah, we have seen that this... In my opinion, the aggro Egg Druid deck definitely seems to be the way to go in terms of Druid. The Jade Druid has been obviously very powerful, but it hasn't got that much better with the inclusion of wildcards. Drake and Mulch are good, but they're not devastatingly powerful, whereas The eggs in this deck just make all the difference in the world, and Xixo is going to have to find some kind of an AoE board clear, or this is pretty much over already.
Which is a ridiculous thing to be saying on turn.
It is ridiculous. 2. But it might be right. You never know.
So, what can he even do here? You don't want to tap too many times, but then if you've got nothing... Yeah, just pass. That's always the thing you hate absolutely most, where you've got 3 mana as Warlock. Daren't tap. Haven't got anything to play. Just pass.
Unbelievable. And I guess that's probably right. You're just under too much pressure, aren't you? If you're going to win this game, you have to pray that you're going to draw Hellfire on the following turn.
And his hand is fine. I mean, you don't need...
Yeah.
It's you do need the Hellfire, but that's about the only card you're looking for. And this hand is fine if you get any further, but I don't think he's getting any further because he's facing down 16 with a Savage Roar.
Yeah, you are correct. That is another 2 damage there, so it's 8, 7 is 15, 17, I believe.
Okay, the only downside is it doesn't get through... he's just got to make sure it gets through a Reno and a Taunt next turn. It looks like it does.
This is much better against Sludge Belcher because you want to make sure that you have the ability to keep applying pressure on the following turn. And it looks like pretty much you are going to lose no minions on the board no matter what. That Shadow Flame makes things a little bit more interesting, especially in combination with the Mortal Coil. But it may be that the Sludge Belcher is still just the better defensive play.
How on earth do you just wipe out enough of these 2/2s that come back?
So you can attack into the Creeper and then Mortal Coil one of the saplings, but then you're still leaving your opponent with 3 trees, which is game over.
3 trees.
Unless you get a taunt.
There's a taunt.
Okay. That's still game. But even so, it was closer, wasn't it?
Just not that taunt.
A better taunt, please.
And that's a 2-1 to Lovelychook. We've only just started. What's going on?
Well, we called it. We knew that these games would be extremely fast due to the hyper-aggressive nature of Lovelychook's lineup and the still pretty aggressive nature of Xixo's lineup as well. And, you know, Lovelychook is going to be showing absolutely no sign of slowing down. He still has his Pirate Warrior, which is unable to take a win, versus the Jade Druid, I believe. Or did he? He played that again and won, didn't he? Oh, yeah, sorry. So yeah, Pirate Warrior is out the way. Pirate Warrior is out the way. Jade Druid's out.
Paladin and Mage left.
Paladin and Mage. Okay, yeah, because the Aggro Shaman was gotten out the way. So the Paladin is probably slightly less aggressive. It's just an aggressively curved mid-range deck. I think I'm going to put it that way.
Okay, so Arcanologist. And there you go. That's exactly the start you want with Tempo Mage.
That's very much what you're looking for. Doomsayer, however, from Xixo is definitely what you're looking for at the start from a Reno lock. You're obviously going to run one of them, so it's pretty fortunate to find it. And against Mana Worm, it's going to be pretty good. But with Mana Worm into Arcanologist, unless this is coined out, which it is not.
Right. Are these guys playing fast enough? Like, we're talking about a turn and the next turn appears on the screen while we're talking about it.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think there's like a 2-second difference between what we're seeing, and that turns out to be about 3 turns.
Yeah, it's not helping situation right now. Unfortunately, there is no way of fixing it at this time if we want the stream to work, which is doing. I know that some people are saying about the lag, but I know that is not at our end. That is just sometimes happens in the differential when you're restreaming the Chinese broadcast.
Exactly. You can only do so much. And it does turn out from Xixo that going for the Imp Gang Boss is better than going for the Doomsayer because it would have died to a Frostbolt, and he knows that is a very real possibility. Obviously, you think, okay, come on, they've had Mana Worm, they've had Arcanologist, they can't possibly have a Frostbolt as well. But Xixo not even taking the chance here.
Yeah, this is going into the Cabal Shadow on a turn as well, so knows that that can't be played alongside a Doomsayer clear, which would be one of the biggest problems. Yeah,
nice play from Xixo here. Denying a stronger turn, because obviously turn 3 with the Arcanologist is just going to be developing a secret. So even if the Doomsayer does come off, it's not that disastrous for the Mage, because they can play a secret on curve.
And now the decision needs to be made by Lovelychook if he wants to even bother clearing this up. But he probably does, because he'll be expecting the likes of Twilight Drake to come down next turn and start stodging up the board.
Yeah, I think you probably want to keep up as much as possible, because on the following turn you could see something like a Kazaka, something like that, which would just be a little bit too scary if you have a clear board. You don't want to give them any kind of board control. You just want to keep up in the early game so you can beat them down. However, this Kazan Mystic is going to be crazy good here.
Yep, I'll have that. Thank you very much.
Easiest play ever. Duplicate. If you can duplicate the Kazan Mystic, that's 2 more.
Wow.
Then no secret is being played ever again.
That's pretty silly stuff.
But obviously, Lovelychook knows which secret it is that Xixo has, so he's probably going to kill off this imp instead.
That was always one of the big downsides of Mystic, even when it was a card that people were playing.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't like it because the upside was that you steal the secret. The downside of you knowing, your opponent knowing what your secret is so huge that it was a significant downside on the upside. Significantly lowered the upside. Let's go with that phrase.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And it was less so in Freeze Mage, because obviously you can only play around ice blocks so much, and you know that it's going to be that most of the time anyway. But with this Secret Mage, the confusion that can be caused by whether it's Mirror Entity, Counterspell, or Duplicate is massive.
Yeah, the key to playing Mage in revealed decks is very different to playing it on ladder, where you have to select 2 or 3 secrets that just make it impossible for your opponent to guess what to do.
Very true.
And that is the right 3. Whereas if you're doing it on ladder, you just pick in a surprising secret, and actually you get massive advantage out of it.
So for Xixo here, going with the Mortal Coil, unfortunately, due to the way that it works, doesn't quite work out in being able to play the Mountain Giant in the same turn. Often you can kind of fan angle it so that with drawing cards you end up playing it for the same mana cost anyway, but it doesn't quite work out here, so he's going to have to go with the Death Lord that he picks up instead. That could be pretty good. With Lovelychook's deck, if you look at it, there's some decent cards that you can pull out, but there's also some very disastrous cards. Obviously, we can see that it's already in hand, but Dr. Boom being pulled would be terrible. Drake, Lotheb, even the Ethereal Arcanist would be pretty poor if there's a secret in play.
Yeah, that would actually be a great card for Lovelychook to get pulled out for nothing. Choosing not to get greedy here, he can lower the cost of this next turn, but that would involve this turn being pretty feeble.
Yeah.
And so decides to just get on with it and use the mana efficiently rather than greedily. Because next turn, the good Doctor will probably come out to play.
Very likely indeed. And this Sylvanas is a fantastic play against Dr. Boom, because you have the opportunity to go for something like a Shadow Flame to take out the Boom bots and whatever else is on board, and then steal the damage Dr. Boom, or you can just try and clear off the Boom bots themselves and then run Sylvanas into Dr. Boom. There's a lot of ways that you can deal with it very nicely and usually end up with a 7/2 minion. Let's
see what comes out here. He'll be hoping it's nothing too good, oddly enough, so that gives him a Sylvanas option.
Kirintor Mage, pretty medium. Obviously, you don't get the Battle Cry, but just that is a very respectable body to get.
Not an easy choice for him here. Yeah, he's going to put damage to face and just hope to somehow burn over the finishing line, but it doesn't look very likely at the moment.
So the Shadow Flame obviously doesn't really do much of anything. You can steal the Kirintor Mage guaranteed, but interestingly enough, you can play down a very big minion in the Mountain Giant and then try to steal back your own minion that was copied.
Right.
And with the Power Overwhelming as well, you can guarantee that you get that Mountain Giant.
That's a good point.
So
yeah.
So if you play the Mountain Giant and it doesn't activate, I think this is definitely the correct play, because if it's Counterspell, then you've just played a Mountain Giant and you're fine, and you steal the I'm completely blanking on the name of the card, the Kirintor Mage.
Yeah, exactly, and you just steal and get on with your life, and you have an 8/8 in play. And if it's Mountain Giant, you proc the secret, and you end up with 16 attack on the board.
So this worked out insanely brilliant for Xixo, masterfully playing around that secret from Lovelychook.
Looking really, really good for him now. He still has no healing in hand, so an accident could still occur.
Yeah.
But it's looking like it won't. From Xixo's side, he'll still be really worried that things can go wrong. Like, Glyph into Pyroblast is probably just a lost game. But from what we can see, there just isn't any sustained threat in hand at the moment.
I just realised Lovelychook is not playing Glyphs.
He's not playing glyphs.
He is not playing glyphs in his
Okay.
deck. I thought it would be in every mage deck forever. I
That's
was
why I
wrong.
just ignored you. You said, oh, it's in every mage deck. Okay, sure, I believe you.
Yep. He completely ignores me. That's very, very interesting. And that means that the amount of burn in the deck is actually very low. Because I was going to say, it's just the Frostbolts, Fireballs, and one Firelands portal. That's not that much. And with glyphs, it is actually not very much because you can't generate Pyroblasts or nonsense like that.
So Xixo taking down... Realise the Imp's going to live a lot of the time here. Because pinging an 8-1's a bit more important than pinging a 1-1. And it's just extra targets that can't go face. He'll be worried about Fireballs to face, about Boom Bots going crazy. We've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
But from the other point of view here, just as much stuff on board as possible means that it's just not going to hit him in the face, which is all he's concerned about because he's nearly stabilised. And of course, he has a deck full of healing.
Yeah, so many fantastic cards that he can get off the top. Obviously with things like Antique Healbot and the obvious Reno Jackson for the best one, truly. But hitting the Imp there, not the best. 3 to face, it's not bad, but you have no burn in hand. It's obviously going to be scaring Xixo, so maybe it prompts him to play in a slightly weird way, clearing off more than he should.
Yeah, and just the 1-1 there absorbing some of that damage, and it's Lovelychook has no choice but to spam the board and effectively goes as all in as he can. And Xixo should be able to deal with this like swatting flies to some extent. Just got to make sure he doesn't fluff his ordering because of the secret.
So he knows that there is no ice block in the deck, but unfortunately there is no way to get that one needed damage to push him over the finish line. So perhaps we just see a Blast Crystal Potion to take out the Ethereal Arcanist and then smash everything else into face. But
which one does he want countered?
Okay, yeah, good point. He's going to be playing around Counterspell, isn't he? Oh, okay, this is harder than it looks.
So I think he probably assumes it's Counterspell because he's seen the mirror.
Right.
And therefore he'll try and Shadow Flame his own Dirty Rat, which won't work, and then he'll use the potion. Oh, he's just going to do this. He's going to look for lethal. Like, worst case is that he can still just clear the board up.
Yeah. And he feels fairly safe that he's not dead to burst damage because he probably would have seen something launched to face already. And even so, there's only one card in hand, so there's no one card that can finish him off. So it would have to be a top deck of yet more damage.
Yeah, now he's just going to bump into stuff.
Yeah.
And this is still lethal, as you suggested.
Doesn't want to kill off the mad scientist because you don't want to give your opponent a secret on their turn. I guess that doesn't make too much difference, but even so, can that give him an out if you get Leroy? Doesn't win you the game.
Out what was going to be the out there, but Lovelychook having to not die means he can't put as much of that damage to face. Red Mana Worm is an interesting proposition, but it's just going to get removed.
So could that be another counterspell, potentially? I think we've only seen one so far, haven't we?
Yeah, we've only seen one.
And giving your opponent 2 red mana worms is a little bit scary.
It is a bit, isn't it? Just a little.
Just a tad. But maybe you just stick that Sludge Belcher in the way and start slamming to face instead.
Yeah, as long as you can keep like threatening lethal or lethal before they can kill you, you're okay here.
These secrets are making Xixo play really weirdly because he was just afraid of another counterspell there. Because going for Siphon Soul on that was definitely the best play.
Right.
But he was just too afraid of that counterspell. It would have been a massive tempo loss on his part.
Yeah, now Lothar could be a thing, but you can't Lothar Mana Worm and ping the 8-1, which is obviously what Lovelychook would like to do.
Yeah.
And Xixo's managing to go really low on health here, looking for Reno. Which he can't even play this turn. So he thinks he's safe because he wasn't shot in the face last turn.
Yeah.
And when he saw the Firelands portal to his minion, not his face.
That's it.
That's probably the clue that they don't have any more burn in hand.
So the fact that Emperor Thaurissan going off here does actually make a big difference. No combo pieces in hand, obviously, but just the fact that you can go Belcher into the Siphon Soul is very, very nice. Obviously, the Lotheb comes down, which denies that potential, but you can just go for 2 decent-sized minions in the Drake and the Sludge Belcher to protect you from any incoming damage. And then the question is, do you trade off your Emperor Thaurissan?
Well, you know your opponent's hand. You know it's 2 red mana worms.
Very good point.
So, he knows the deck list. He knows he can't die next turn. And so he can afford to be very, very greedy here. Whatever that means. Yeah, he can be greedy, but how does the greed actually manifest? We'll have to wait and see.
It's kind of not even greedy, though, because you're not taking the value trade. You're just trying to finish off your opponent as quick as you possibly can. I believe Xixo is running the combo in his deck, so he has Leroy that he can get off the top. We've already seen the faceless manipulator and the power overwhelming. But that regular mana worm pickup from Lovelychook is definitely not what he was looking for.
Trying to work out how on earth you go about doing this. It's so close for Xixo. Obviously doesn't now know his opponent's hand.
Yes, very true.
I feel this is the point where you have to siphon soul. And if you do that, you can probably afford to tap. Oh god, that's so terrifying.
So he's thinking about just going. It's so awkward because if you could go for Lotheb into Twisting Nether, you'd probably go for that. But just with the Siphon Soul, maybe this is the play because, just with the Shadow Flame.
He's finally found a way to set up next turn lethal after all these messing around, and he shouldn't be punished for it in any way. He doesn't know the hand, but he knows that Lovelychook's been low on gas for a while.
Exactly, and the thing is, he didn't know what the card that was top decked by Lovelychook last turn was, but he knew that it was worse to play than Red Mana Worm.
Right.
And so he can assume that that's probably quite a few things that it isn't. And regular Mana Worm is definitely one of the things he can assume it is.
Yeah, you do have to be a little bit scared that it's like Fireball.
Yes, because Fireball, Frostbolt obviously would kill you in that position.
Thought Lovelychook there. One of the advantages of playing the secret deck is your opponent can make mistakes by playing inefficiently. And I felt that Lovelychook didn't stick to that theme by just keeping the 2 Mana Worms in hand.
Ah, yeah,
so
okay.
Xixo was able to have perfect information for a couple of turns. Where Xixo was allowed to tap an extra time. It didn't matter as it happens, the tap, but he gave him an extra tap that could have just been the Reno that maybe Xixo shouldn't have been able to afford.
Right.
I'm not saying it was wrong, but just in hindsight, I'm wondering if maybe he should have tried to avoid that situation. Maybe he did try to avoid it, maybe he just couldn't. But
yeah, definitely something to consider. But now the Aggro Shaman being loaded up from Xixo, I think this is definitely going to be a matchup where he's feeling pretty confident, especially when your opponent draws 3 secrets as their starting hand.
Pretty rough start, although Xixo's hand is good, but it could soon turn mediocre.
Who cares? Your opponent's drawn 3 secrets. That is so much worse than it is in standard because you can get them off of Mad Scientist.
Yeah, it's just such a nightmare.
And a 4th one! Oh my god. This is one of the worst draws I've seen in a very long time.
But it's okay, Xixo's only picked up a mana totem golem. It's fine, what could go wrong?
Oh, good lord.
Well,
so
there's an Arcanist.
So you play a secret that won't get... So this is tough because you can play the Mirror Entity, which is obviously a higher tempo secret.
Right.
But it might just be activated, and then your Medivh's Valet cannot activate the Battle Cry. So maybe it's worth going for the duplicate to guarantee it, and then you get 2 more Medivh's Valet, which are fantastic cards given the amount of secrets you have.
Yeah, this is an ongoing discussion with the standard version is, do you play 1 Ice Block or not?
Yes.
Because you need the activator a lot of the time for the valets, but also it's not like in most decks where the Ice Block buys you an extra turn. I mean, it does, but you're usually out of stuff anyway, and the extra turn's kind of useless.
Yeah, of
but
course.
on the other side, it makes your valets better, gives you the option to maybe play a Pyroblast build, and I think we're going to have Ice Block going in and out of the standard build for some time yet.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting debate, and it will be very interesting to see APX Void decide what is right.
Exactly. As soon as APX Void tells us all what we should be doing, then we'll just move on with our lives.
So now in this spot, you know, Lovelychook is starting to pick up some damage, but that's just what he wants. His opponent is still at the full 30 health total, and Fireball is just massive overkill on anything that Xixo is playing here. Goes for the ping on the Totem Golem, and I guess that's saying maybe I can finish it off with the Medivh's Valet after you kill it on the following turn, to which Xixo responds, why would I ever kill that?
Right, and if it was a counter spell, it doesn't matter because it just makes way for your Lava Burst next turn, or not next turn because you want to do on turn 7. But yeah, as soon as possible to be really powerful. If there is a turn 7.
So the Frostbolt is very, very nice to pick up here. And the counterspell does a decent job of mitigating some of the damage that's going to be coming through from Xixo. But even so, you can lead off with the Maelstrom Portal, which he is going to do because he thinks that is very, very likely to be a counterspell now, and it obviously is. Then you can just follow up with the Jade Claws. You don't even need to go for the Lava Burst this time. You can do it next turn.
And he's so close to victory, he's not even making the trade with his weapon into the 2-2. Doesn't care about defending his minions because he's just going to win the game instead.
Yeah, the only thing that could save Lovelychook at all would be another counterspell. So the only play he can go for here, which would give him a chance, would be to go Mad Scientist and Fireball his own Mad Scientist. But that would be insane and lead him to a loss anyway.
3-2 to Xixo. After we thought that maybe he'd lose. Taking that 1-0 with the Druid really, really helping him right now.
Very nicely done indeed. So he is left with only his own Tempo Mage, I believe.
His own Tempo Mage, yep, versus Paladin and Tempo Mage.
Right. So this is going to be interesting. Xixo obviously going way, way less heavy on the secrets, but more heavy on the burn. And if he can get off a big Flame Waker, I believe that is going to be the big difference, because Lovelychook has a decent chance to pull ahead in the mid-turns. You've got Arcanologist, you've got Mad Scientists, and you've got Medivh's Valet. You've got some very powerful early minions that you can throw down. But if Xixo, perhaps if he can get lucky, go second, get the coin, he can definitely pull it back and lead himself to a victory.
Yeah, let's see how this turns out and what Lovelychook chooses to queue. I suspect he'll choose the Paladin just because it's a mix-it-up. I don't think he'll really care. Let's see where he goes.
It's interesting to say that Lovelychook has very little burn in his deck because Xixo actually has less. He only runs the 2 Fireballs and 2 Frostbolts, but it doesn't matter because you can get in 1 billion minion damage when you have Mana Worm into Mad Scientist.
Yeah, into Flame Waker.
Into Flame Waker.
What could possibly go wrong if you're Lovelychook? Meanwhile, Lovelychook, yet again, the victim of a really heavy start. Although, it's not as heavy as it looks because that Crystal, whatever she's called, girl, it actually costs 4 in the real world.
Yes, that is true. She is simply a 4-mana 5/5 unless you are the unluckiest person in the world. Draws 1 secret here, but having about 1 secret probably seems like about the average given the amount that Lovelychook is running, and he still gets to draw at least 1, or gets to draw exactly 1, sorry, off of his Arcanologist.
Yeah, probably won't want to use the coin, but it's definitely worth considering. And yep, decides he has to challenge the Mana Worm, so going to use the coin.
So obviously sets up for going with Arcanologist turn 1 and then pinging off the Mana Worm in combination with it on turn 2. There's no Frostbolt available for Xixo, so that plan is going to work out. But the Mad Scientist will trade into that evenly, leaving a 2-for-1 for Lovelychook in a way, but you also get a free secret out of it.
Yeah, and I think Xixo can just afford to develop the Flame Waker here as well, which he can.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. And then next turn, Frostbolt might be a thing, depending exactly what he's up against.
That could be a duplicate as well. It's either a counterspell or a duplicate. So it is a counterspell. So both of which would actually be fantastic in playing a Flame Waker, because either you get the counterspell, which basically guarantees its protection, or you get the duplicate. And then even if it dies, you get 2 more, which is arguably even better.
Pew pew time.
Yeah, counterspelling the counterspell, and then this is game over because Xixo is going to get infinite primordial glyphs.
Oh my goodness. Guess not. Just the thought of infinite primordial glyphs maybe a little bit ill.
Spellbender, very nice indeed, because this once again guarantees the protection of the Flame Waker on this turn. Fireball or Frostbolt, both of which would not take out the the Flame Waker, and he's just going off.
Yeah, and if you're going to have 1 card left in your hand, it might as well be a 4/4 that draws you a card.
It very well might.
Alright, so having to deal with a Flame Waker. Nope, sorry, you're dealt with my secret.
Absolutely fantastic for Xixo here. And as you said, the perfect card to follow up with in the Azure Drake.
Yeah, and I was going to say, let's see what he picks up. But honestly, I was going to say, unless it's Dr. Boom, it doesn't matter. But it is Dr. Boom. Wow. So it matters a little tiny bit. Because it is a little bit slow right now. He's just looking for a spell to finish the game with more than anything.
Yeah, he definitely is. Any other card would have been fantastic there. If you can pick up Lotheb, basically locks out the game in his favour as well. There's so many fantastic things he can get. Even something as small and seemingly insignificant as an Arcane Missiles would be incredibly powerful with the Flame Waker and the spell damage.
So, taking down the Drake, but... is that lethal? That's lethal, isn't it? I think it's lethal if one of the missiles hits face.
Oh, Fireball. Yeah, I was a little bit behind on that pickup,
Sorry,
but yeah, I believe that.
I realised that I should have asked you slightly
No, no, no,
differently.
it's definitely fine. That is easy peasy lethal, which means Xixo is going to be going up 4-2 in this series and 3-1 overall.
Yep, Xixo's completed all of his matches. You will see all 4 of the other players in action tomorrow, though. Only 2 matches tomorrow. We're going to start at the same time, which means you'll get to see all of HCT as well. I'm sure those of you here will be watching 2 streams at once, but tomorrow you'll get to see it all before the HCT even starts, and we'll get to find out which players get through and whether Reynad can pick up a win or not.
Yeah, I very much hope that he can, because it seems like at the moment he's definitely the player that will not be qualifying if things don't go very remarkable. Xixo obviously guaranteed himself a spot in Shanghai. I'm not even sure if he'll be happy about that. You know, he's made...
Well, he won't have to go home anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. I guess going out to Shanghai guaranteed at least $2,000, especially as you've made $3,000 over today and yesterday. I guess you're probably pretty happy with that. I would take that deal personally.
And I think Lovelychook's 1 and 2, so he's probably the guy that Reynad's looking to catch, basically. I'm not sure if Reynad's played Lovelychook, but it may be that if Reynad plays Lovelychook tomorrow, I don't know if you can check that out, if he won that, then he would probably go through on head-to-heads.
So Reynad is going to be playing against Zhangbo tomorrow, and Lovelychook is against Eloise. So I think basically if Reynad's going to have a chance, he's going to want to 4-0 Zhangbo and have Eloise completely destroy Lovelychook.
Yeah, and that may not even matter. We'll have to look up the rules properly
yes,
when I've got access to the internet again, because Lovelychook probably beat Reynad, that means.
Oh yeah, very true. I think that will...
So it may just be that Reynad's in trouble, but we'll find out for sure tomorrow. We'll also find out the seedings. And we'll have some more best of 7 wild. It'll be D2 and somebody.
Somebody. Maybe me, maybe someone else.
And we're also on this channel again tonight with the Gladiator Cup. If you guys want to check out on Twitter for all the information on that. With Shoop and Flamingo Bums are going to be the pros on that one. The Gladiators against 2 of the winners in the week. One of whom beat Dr. J along the way.
Ooh. Very exciting.
So just winding this one up. Obviously, don't usually cross events, but as they're both on this same channel, and then I think I should probably sort of do that.
Yeah, I think it's probably all right. The people want to know what you're doing.
Okay, so there's the tail of the tape. We thought that Xixo might have trouble with his druid. He managed to get the win against the pirates, and from then on it went pretty much how we thought. Surprising that Lovelychook's tempo mage just never got the start, but as we said, it's one of those decks that can do great things, and sometimes it can just be a mess.
I think this way is just not the way to build your secret mage. It's just too many secrets, because even in the current builds of secret mage, you often don't run that many secrets at all. You try and generate them off of primordial glyphs and just draw the couple that you need to get your Cabal secret runner down to 2 mana, which is already pretty fantastic. Because if you build it the way Lovelychook has, you have the very real potential to draw a whole bunch of secrets in your opening hand, which is exactly what happened.
Great day overall, as you see on the screen there for Eloise and for Xixo, winning all 4 of their matches between them.
Yeah, very nicely done. The true power couple of Hearthstone.
Wow. And with that, it looks like we wind up. There is the league table. Yeah, Reynad obviously struggling there at the bottom. I was just thinking what the numbers were on the right-hand side, but that's the wins and losses, I think.
Yes, I think you're right.
I'm not even sure what that is, actually.
Oh, wait, so win-loss differential is the middle one, and then the right one, games played?
Matches played, yeah, because matches played all 4 matches. Nice work. So as you can see, Reynad in a world of trouble at the bottom. Tomorrow, Reynad versus Zhangbo, Lovelychook versus Eloise. That will be live here on this channel, and starting at the same time, which is 1300. As you can see, in China. Google for details if you don't know what that is. Real world.
Okay, I think that's probably going to be us wrapped up then, I guess.
Yeah, just make sure. I'm just going to pause for a second and make sure these guys don't cut to something totally unexpected, like a surprise show match, which sometimes we get in China. But if it is, then that's us done. Derek, have you had fun?
I have had an absolute blast, as ever. I'm actually really enjoying this tournament, because I didn't really keep up with Wild too much while everyone was playing the Tavern Brawl, but these are actually some pretty cool decks we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm relieved that nothing totally insane and completely incomprehensible has leapt out, as I must admit I haven't played much Wild at all, but looks like we are catching up with the meta here on Tempo Storm. Looks like we're done, Derek. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.